It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey Higginbotham's here, Jeff Jarvis, and Pruitt. We'll talk about Google's FLoC. Looks like nobody wants to use it, but is it really all that bad? It turns out Google is one of the most trusted brands globally. We'll talk about jeans, the Daily Mail suing Google, and OS 9 is out. Lots more to talk about in our Google changelog, all coming up next.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 608, recorded Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. Real men don't use Allen wrenches. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google, the show we cover the latest from, whatever's on our minds. Stacey Higginbotham is here from StaceyOnIoT.com and the IoT podcast. Hello, Stacey.
Hello, everyone.
Nice to see you. Stacey is both in the chat and the Discord chat, so you're just like a typing fool today.
Oh, John, get ready to mute me. I'm so sorry.
I love the banging.
And then it's like, and then like two words come out.
I know. It's a lot of work to type. We gotta have something. We gotta have a voice dictation, something like that. Who could invent that? Jeff Jarvis is also here. Leonard Tao, professor for journalistic innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Buzzmachine.com is his blog home. New York. I just was reading that 25 to 35% of New Yorkers, many of them unwittingly, had COVID over the last year. Kind of a stunning number. Yeah. Well, it's a small city, and everybody's jammed in.
It hit New York first and worst.
Right.
Well, actually not first. It was Seattle was first, but it hit us badly.
Ooh,
Badly.
Crappy stats for your city.
Yeah. Depressing. And Aunt Pruitt from Hands On Photography, our great friend. Hello, Aunt.
Hello, Mr. Laporte.
Good to see you.
You too.
Before we get into the news, we have some news of our own. We announced this on Sunday, and the word's getting out. We have announced something we call Club TWiT. It's a paid tier for TWiT. And so the genesis of this is when we first started TWiT in 2005, I thought, it'd be great if we didn't have to worry about advertisers and the implicit conflict of interest and all that, and if we just let the listeners pay. So we had a tip jar. Back in those days, it was early days. I don't think people really knew what we were doing, and so some people contributed. But
I paid you way back when.
Did you? Thank you, Jeff.
My son insisted. Yeah, Jake insisted.
Jake was a big fan. I know. Yeah. So we took in about at the peak $9,000 a month, which is good money. I'm not complaining, but it wasn't enough to build a podcast empire by any means, or even do a second show. So at some point, I think about a year and a half in, we started taking advertising. That's my background, ad-supported media, both radio and TV. So we decided to take ads, and that's been very good for us. It allowed us to build, 2 new studios, the Brick House and now this, with the help of our audience through the bricks that we sold at the Brick House. And of course, grow to many shows and so forth. But then lately, after COVID, advertising started to dry up. Audience started to get more interested in news podcasts. And to be honest, there were a lot more podcasts to listen to. And we had our revenue shrank by about, at first it was about 30%, which meant because we don't have investors, we had to shrink our staff and shrink our, and this is a hard thing to do, but we had to do it. I know a lot of companies had to during the crisis, reduce the number of shows we did and so forth. Advertising has not come back yet. It seems like it might start to come back, and I'm hopeful for fourth quarter as we kind of climb out of this quarantine hole. But that's not the only headwind. Audiences, as I said, have been, there's many more choices. Actually, a big issue for us is thanks to things like Spotify and iHeartMedia, big companies who can force you to listen on their platform and thereby can track you. I mean, they gave Joe Rogan $100 million to be exclusive because if you listen on Spotify, they know who you are. They know your home address. They know your credit card number. They know everything about you, including when you listen, how often you listen, how long you listen. And advertisers are addicted to that kind of information, as we've talked about many times on this show. And so we're just seeing it. We see it as it's going to be likely to get more and more difficult to sell advertising. In fact, advertisers have already started to say, hey, we want more information. We want more tracking. And we're very reluctant to do that. So the idea is, well, maybe if we could have half. I don't want to get rid of the free stuff. I feel like our free tier, our ad-supported tier, is so important because not everybody wants to spend money on a podcast, and not everybody can. And I really want to make sure everybody who wants to listen to Twig can hear Twig. So you have this promise from me. We are not going to change anything. Everything is the same. Same podcast, same places, IRC, the TWiT forums, the twit.community, the Mastodon at twit.social, all of that will stay and continue to be free. We're adding something, which is a new paid tier. It's called Club Twit. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows, both audio and video. You'll get a custom feed when you join that's just for you, and that is the ad-free stuff. Then there'll be a new feed of audio and video bonus content. We call that TWiT Plus. Plus, we have a Discord where you can participate, and we'll be using the Discord a little later on to take audio questions from our audience. But the main offer I want to say is really the ad-free podcast, $7 a month. That's kind of the trade-off. Instead of listening to ads, you give us the revenue we would generate from your listening to the shows, and we'll call it even. I think it's a fair price, and I hope you do too. But again, you don't have to subscribe. Everything else is going to stay the same. So if you want to support us, twit.tv/clubtwit. twit.tv/clubtwit. All the details are there. The full explanation that you just heard is there, and you can see exactly how it works. We use Memberful, which is a Patreon company. They do, I think, a really good job. We really spent some time. Lisa especially spent some time researching this, interviewed a lot of different platforms that we decided Memberful was the best for what we want to do. They use Stripe as a payment provider, which means you can use Apple Pay, you can use a credit card, you can use pretty much any kind of payment method. International audience members can also use Stripe. So if you've ever used Stripe before, you know it's very easy. Somebody was saying it's actually easier to sign up for Club Twit than it was to get a pizza the other night. So I think that's probably the case. So anyway, that's the story. We are answering questions. I know there are a lot of questions in the Discord once you join, or you can email us or ask in the chat room IRC, and we'll answer those too. No PayPal, Londog, because Stripe is a PayPal competitor, and that's what Memberful uses. And they're really, I think Stripe is a little bit better. We used to use PayPal, and I'm actually very happy with Stripe. And no, you can't pay me with Ethereum, Retcon 5.
How about Dogecoin? Surely you'll take Dogecoin.
32 cents.
Hey, Retcon, I'll take Ethereum.
I have bad
You just can't make change.
I have bad experiences with crypto wallets, as you know. So
yeah, we won't remind you.
Yeah, I have actually. That's one of the places the tip jar went, was that Bitcoin wallet. That's why there's almost 8 Bitcoins in there. Well, to be fair, the last contribution was in 2015 when Bitcoin was pennies. So it wasn't like people were giving me big bucks.
Right.
We don't use that Bitcoin wallet anymore. Nobody is flying to join Google's FLoC, says The Verge. Firefox has already said we're not going to do it. Apple's Safari won't do it. Mozilla, Vivaldi, Brave, all out. In this article by Dieter Bohn, he says Edge, but I have to say, when they asked Microsoft about Edge, their response was very equivocal. In fact, to the point where I feel like Microsoft was hedging their bets and said, yeah, we're going to wait and see. We might well use FLoC. Just as a point of information, Steve Gibson did about half an hour on FLoC yesterday on Security Now, which I encourage people to listen to. It's at the end of the show. He says it's a good idea and it works as advertised, that it is privacy protecting, and it's very cleverly implemented to do that. I pointed out, it's, of course, Google, has to make advertising work. So Google is
for itself and many others.
Yeah. So Google's kind of got to do the best it can to reassure people on privacy, but still they have to give something to advertisers. That's what I was just talking about. And what Google did point out is that there are a number of categories that they don't sell ads against, including things like your mental state, your previous incarceration, whether you're pregnant, any health conditions. They don't sell ads against those, and FLoC will not add those features to any of its cohorts. So that might have been a little bit reassuring.
Pregnancy is interesting because that's highly lucrative.
Well, if you look at what they won't sell, I mean, liquor, right? The stuff that Google won't do ads for is actually a list of stuff that people buy ads for. So I think this is why I feel like Google might be a little bit sincere in that they're trying.
We need to reinvent advertising.
Yes.
We need to get past what it was.
Well,
and if we're going to shoot down everything that comes up just because it came from Google.
Well, no, they're not shooting it down because it came from Google. Originally, and EFF shot it down originally because they want to stop the web being built on an ad-supported model. That's their idea, is that your data should not be your payment for surfing the web. We should come up with something better. And it might be something like, what we're doing.
Well,
like with Club TWiT.
Okay,
right.
so then we end up with a world where everything's behind a paywall. I wrote a tweet about this last week. That my dystopia is that everything goes behind a paywall at major media, and that everybody has a Substack, and the only thing that's free is disinformation.
Well,
with crappy ads.
I think that's a little crazy. I think what's going to, I tweeted just the other day, I realized I subscribe to 11 publications, which is insane. I spend about $1,000 a year.
Yeah, thank you.
Very odd.
Thank you. Yeah, but yeah, thank you.
No, I know. It's my job. I do it because I run into paywalls all the time. But it is frustrating also to try to.
I'm like you. I pay for
to
stuff.
link to people to content.
Yeah, I pay for more stuff. I don't think I'd ever give Bloomberg any money, except that I have to use Bloomberg's materials on our shows.
I give Bloomberg.
It's $35 a month, and they have that gosh darn Bloomberg terminal. They make a lot of money.
Well, and Reuters is going to charge that much, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, Reuters. I like Reuters, but
so go ahead, Stacey.
But I think what's going to happen is we're going to reach a point where people start hitting all these paywalls, and they experience the pain of that, and we're going to come up with new models because they're going to be forced. Right. Remember, this is what competition does. It you get this like pain point, and then people will come out with like aggregators that are like of some sort, and we'll get to that point. It's constantly evolving, and that's good. That's what the web is.
But that's exactly why we never want to get rid of the free tier, because I don't want to put everything. I didn't want to do a paywall per se. Mm-hmm. Now maybe that's crazy because
this is patronage. This is support. This is help. This is fans.
But I noticed
people being involved.
Financial Times, for instance, you can't read their content unless you pay. Wall Street Journal, you can read some limited content, but not all of it unless you pay. Paywalls are definitely a thing. Is that because this idea of freemium doesn't work?
No, because it's a winner-take-all market. One of my numbers below, which I will now sacrifice for the good of the show.
Thank you, sir.
Is a view of all of the news sites that have over 100,000 subscribers. There's 28 of them, adding up to 23 million worldwide, the English-speaking world.
That's a fraction, though, of the total
news.
Nothing.
It's nothing. And in the U.S., 63% of all subs go to three publications. You know what they are: New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. And I subscribe to all three.
It's a winner-take-all model.
Wait, what was the third one?
Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and Washington Post.
Yeah.
I have subscriptions.
So do I. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so do I.
I don't subscribe to any of those.
You're the common man. You're the real man.
Yeah, well, but see, the thing is, I totally get having these paywalls up because ideally they're going to have legit content out there and legit information. But there's a lot of times that I've been able to click on some of these stories and get a partial view of whatever they're showing before hitting the paywall. And I'm like, this is bad. And it just doesn't warrant
And I'll bring up this. There is a hazard. Knox Harrington in our IRC chat brings this up. If all the good content sites are paywalled, what will be left for normal unpaying people to pay to read is link bait and crap.
Exactly.
But I'm seeing link bait from some of these reputable sources too.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I'm like,
it's not all
why even bother?
It's not all crap. I mean, mine's free. It's more trade, though. I get a lot of people who are cranky that my stuff is too technical for them.
Well, too bad. I mean,
but that's what you do.
So the point is,
what do they expect?
People are just cranky. I got to say, people are cranky about anything. They'll complain about anything. If you're not technical nuts, you'd get just as many people saying, you need to be more technical.
Yes, I get each week. I get someone telling me I'm too technical, and I get someone saying, "Thank you for explaining things so clearly."
Exactly.
So I take it all with okay. You can't please everyone, but I will say there will always be. I do think there's always room for. I'll call it a trade-like publication, because the people my advertisers are happy to reach the people who are legitimately focused on my area. And I think there's areas where that model will work.
I think
there's so many places that it breaks down.
The narrower your niche, and you have a very narrow niche, the easier it is to do that. I think if you're general, it's harder, right? Because you don't have a natural audience.
That's
well, you have a natural audience. It's just they're not lucrative. They're just like the
it's everybody.
Man.
Yeah.
Right. Well, consider what is considered a frequent user of the New York Times. They had to lower it from 20 pages a month to 10 pages a month to 5 or 3.
Wow.
So that means people who are paying, they can't get them to convert if they only come 3 to 5 times a month, 3 to 5 articles a month.
Yeah.
What are people reading?
I'm stunned.
Well, there's I happen to have in my hand.
What is this, Professor?
Okay, Senator McCarthy, go ahead.
Excellent paper from 3 great researchers, Duncan Watts, David Rothschild, and Marcus Mobius, just published. And it's about fake news. And they found that from 2017, there were 5,000 English language publications, academic papers about fake news. So what they're saying is they think it's maybe a little overblown and what the research we need. But here's some data in this. News consumption is a small fraction of overall media consumption. 14% of overall media consumption is dedicated to news, right? 14%. Less than 1% of regular news consumption and less than 1/10 of 1% of overall media consumption could be considered fake. 3 in 4 Americans spend less than 30 seconds a day reading news online, while almost half consume no online news whatsoever. So we're weirdos. We are really weirdos.
We are.
Well, it's interesting because, as you mentioned, Reuters just went behind a paywall. Their plan is to give you 5 free articles. Then it's $35 a month, but they want to, quote, court business professionals. So that's the key, I think. If you're going to go behind a paywall, you have to find, and that's why the Wall Street Journal, which I think was the first to do it, and Financial Times have done it successfully, because people who read those papers consider
they can afford it.
They can. Well, not only can they afford it, they consider money well spent. The information they get helps them make money, right?
Yeah.
So that it's just a logical thing to spend $38 a month or $39 a month.
And they're not buying content; then they're buying speed.
They're buying speed and
I got this before somebody.
But also knowledge, right? Information.
They're also buying, I think, the knowledge, and I would say the insights. I mean, like, I read CIO Journal. I don't read a lot of the Wall Street Journal main stories, but I do read things like CIO Journal. I am a fun person.
You are.
Well, and I bet you, I don't know.
This is for
CIO,
geeks. This is fun.
Is CIO Journal a closed circ publication? I bet it is.
Well, no, sorry. That's the CIO Journal is part of the Wall Street Journal.
Because there used to be this category that you had to qualify by showing that you were, a C-level executive or an IT professional, and then you would get these closed circulation things like
Information Week.
Information Week is a perfect example. Yeah, I don't know are those even still around? Because that was another.
They're online only, but yes, they're still around.
Okay, so that was another model. Yeah, and you could get it because you're in IT. Yeah.
I did enjoy that one.
Yeah, I got PC
And
Week and Mac.
those were ad supported because
had ads
wanted
and
to.
They were closed circuit.
Well,
but it was the right audience.
yeah, because they could tell people like,
Right.
yeah, if
Just like you're
right in front of all the IT pros,
right, just like TWiT can. If you're buying an ad on TWiT, you're speaking to tech enthusiasts by its very
So here's
nature.
one more number here. So all the publications they could find that had 100,000 or more subscribers was 28 publications in the entire English-speaking world, adding up to 23 million subscriptions. Amazon Prime, 200 million.
I know.
Well, one's clearly more important.
But someone in one of the chats is explaining
my
that
Fritos.
if you have Amazon Prime, you get the Washington Post at only $3.99 a month.
Right.
Which is a great deal.
And you get a lot of free content on Amazon Prime Video. You get, of course, overnight 2-day delivery rather. That's the initial reason for Amazon Prime. They've managed to make that a pretty valuable thing, but it's also expensive. It's $10 a month. It's not cheap.
As a normal person, as you were saying earlier, the problem I have with a lot of these different big time news publications is trust level. They all tend to come off having their own agendas at times.
That's why you have to buy all of them.
Right. And then that's the thing. You end up going back and forth between 3 or 4 different providers of the same story. And it's like, geez, why am I paying for all of this? And neither one of them are saying the same thing or even getting all of the truth out. You know, it's pretty daggum frustrating. There's a lot of times why I don't even bother with news consumption at all, because it's probably a bunch of crap that I'm going to get. This
is why I say you're the normal person. That's, I think, the normal point of view.
Being in a democracy's work, you should have to. I mean, you have to read things. You have to absorb knowledge and decide where you stand on. I mean, that to me sounds like what you should do as a citizen.
You and I
I'm not
agree
trying to
on
yell
that.
at you, Ant.
No, you and I agree on that,
I feel
Stacey.
you.
But I think that if you hear what Ant's saying, you hear that from the vast majority of people.
I know.
And I mean, maybe that is a problem. I think it's a problem on this, also the creation guys who create the content as much as it is on the
It's what makes us elites is that we're
elites because we read newspapers.
I'm going to say something that's not going to be popular. We've had this stuff going on with Chauvin and the other police killings here recently. But fact of the matter, there's just as many white people being killed by police officers that shouldn't be, and none of that stuff gets reported. You know, that's still news. The news story should be that we have some poorly trained police officers out there.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a higher percentage per capita
in New Jersey
of black people getting killed.
Arrest kids for not having bicycle licenses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who pull over somebody for an expired tag. All these reasons people are pulled over.
Yeah.
But every story, okay.
That's when you have to start changing.
But I also should point out, and this is another problem, every story has multiple angles. There's another angle. 90%, whatever, of police officers are hardworking, care a lot, try to be fair and honest, and they're not killing people. So my point not being to defend police officers or not, but that there are angles into all of these stories. And that's why, I think Stacey and I try to read. I spend probably 5 hours a day consuming news content. Some of it general, most of it, a lot of it for the shows. But still, it's a job to keep up on this stuff. And you don't go home and watch the news in the evening?
No, I don't watch the news, but I do try to check out things like TechMeme. That's going to give me a nice aggregate and what's that nuzzle. That's part of my. I do try to check stuff out like that.
Good. Yeah.
Because it is my job. I do want to come onto this show each and every Wednesday and at least sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. But a lot of times it's still quite challenging and frustrating to see the different ridiculous headlines that have nothing to do with the story, or vice versa. You know?
Yeah. It's a thorny conundrum.
I just got this book.
And what is this book?
Former Prime Minister of Australia, Kevin Rudd, called The Case for Courage. I spent $40 to get it delivered to me from Australia. But I really wanted to read it.
There's a paywall.
Now, this is about his campaign against Murdoch, particularly. That's a paywall, against Murdoch. And he's talking about Murdoch and News Corp specifically in Australia, where they have a monopoly in some places on news. But he gives a description of what news is, what I think is what Ant's talking about here. He said, I worry because we're becoming a nation riven by anxiety, fear, and anger, at times bordering on uncontrollable rage. These are deeply disabling emotions that crowd out the space in our nation's mind and imagination for almost anything else. They overwhelm our natural sense of optimism, enterprise, generosity, and spirit, transforming us instead into a frightened and fractured people, a nation of us versus them, and F everybody else. And the point he makes here about Murdoch, but it's true of all media, all big media, is that they traffic in fear. The attention-based business model, which is why we have to change advertising, getting us back to that. If all you're going to do is sell attention, and then the problem is that the way you get attention is by scaring the hell out of people. And that's not good for the country, either one.
You know, the interesting thing is, I think sometimes it's thought that Murdoch is doing it for political reasons. And I think probably he would do whatever makes him the most money. Do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, it's money for him.
It's not about politics for him. But
fear and conservatism, which is one of Rudd's points, kind of go together.
Fear and conservatism, but I also think it is incumbent upon the journalist and the papers to make things matter to people. I mean, our job is one to try to deeply understand issues and explain them clearly to people, but it's also to make them care about something. Fear is the easiest way to make someone care about something, right? But there's also, if you look at good healthcare reporting, I mean, that is an arcane system that just grinds people up like meat. But you always have to find the reason to make someone care about it. And, usually it's someone injured or
there's a fine line between that and
for being
link bait.
People.
Isn't that a fine line?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean,
exactly,
you're exactly right, Stacey. I know whenever you write a story, that's probably a big part of what you're considering as you write it is how do I communicate this is important and you should pay attention to this.
Why this matters.
Why this matters.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line between that and saying, here's 10 things you have to do before you go to bed tonight. So it's interesting. And I can see how people might accidentally really veer into link bait simply because they just want to get people to care about what they're writing about.
Yep.
If people don't care, they're not going to click. It's very challenging.
Say the same thing about thumbnails.
Yeah.
For people
got to have a
in the
good
video
thumbnail.
world.
Yeah. And by the way,
I was what are your thumbnails doing?
That, by the way, is why if you go through YouTube, all the thumbnails right now are reactions.
They look the same, and I can't stand it.
I can't either.
Apparently, that is
what's
what's working. That's what people want to click on.
So really,
I don't have any of that stuff.
The fault is in our stars. The fault is in who we are as human beings and the things that grab our attention. And we're kind of a fundamentally kind of basic system that is easy to game.
Well, the funny thing, when Eli Pariser, author of The Filter Bubble, which I argue is not the case, that we're not in filter bubbles, when he started Upworthy, it was with a good motive. It was saying, I want to draw people's attention to news that matters. But by going with the data, what they ended up inventing was and you won't believe what happened next headline.
Yep.
Right. And they taught all of media then how to do that for not good purposes until we all got sick of it, of course, then it goes away. But even in his good motive, he was trying to use the tools that then get misused.
So let me show you these, and this might reassure you, Stacey. We're talking about FLoC, and one of the things Google has said is one of the concerns that Vivaldi came up with, for instance, is that the way FLoC works is based on 1 week of your browsing. It changes every week. You're put into a category of interest with other people who share those interests. That category, which is never identified by name, it's just numerically identified, then can be used by advertisers who can say, it's interesting, group 13974 was very successful for us when 13221 wasn't, so let's buy more ads to 13974. That's the theory behind it. It's anonymized, and the advertiser really doesn't even know what segment they're buying. But Vivaldi's concern was, but in a way you do know, because if all the people who did a search for ketoacidosis on the web are in this group, that tells you that those people in that group had a medical condition. Google is saying no. very specifically about medical conditions, but in general, we don't sell advertising and will not have FLoC categories based on this content. And I have the page here. It's in their advertising policies help. Prohibited content, but also prohibited practices. And then finally, this is content that they will not sell ads against and will not be in FLoC. Sexual orientation, sexual content, alcohol. A lot of this stuff, gambling and games, you think, boy, they're missing out on a whole category. You mean no DraftKings? Yeah. Healthcare and medicines. Some healthcare-related content cannot be advertised at all. Political content, financial services. So there's a significantly, and I think, admittedly, the list is Google's
list. It still means the shoes are going to follow me everywhere.
Shoes will follow you. So that's really what it is.
But also the FLoCs change week to week too.
They change every week. That's right, based on what you
I was about to say, that's what I was going to say. These are weekly, right. Redone every week.
So, again, I'm not sure I fully agree with Steve, but he did a very, he did analysis from the point of view of statistics and whether what they propose, this K distribution, actually makes sense. And he says it does. And what they're doing is privacy forward and does protect people.
But it is more privacy forward, but it can be. So it is more privacy forward, but it also can create links. And I don't know if Steve addressed this or not, but if you're on other Google properties like Gmail, it is possible for Google to tie your actual identity to those searches.
They say they're not doing that
identity.
though, right?
Allegedly.
Well, I believe.
Yeah,
them. I mean, getting caught doing this would be a high consequence.
Yeah, I mean, they could be considerable liability once they make that warrant. The Federal Trade Commission can come after them and say, "Prove to us you don't." And if they do, they could be in deep trouble. So having made that promise, there is some accountability possible, whether the government does it or not.
There's the threat of accountability. I will give you
there's
that.
There's the threat of accountability. Well said.
Well, and a company as big and valuable as Google is going to be really reluctant to fall into
I don't know.
trap.
Remember how they were snarfing up everybody's Wi-Fi SSIDs and stuff when they were doing?
Yeah, we talked about it, and I think it was very clear that was not an intentional policy on theirs. It was just the way open Wi-Fi works, and they, as soon as people said, "Hey, you're doing that," they stopped. Look. I have mixed feelings about Google, especially of late, but I don't think they're actively malicious. I think what they're trying to do here is exactly what you would expect a company that makes its living on advertising would try to do,
right?
Which is to find
they're trying to make it more palatable,
right?
Yeah.
So to respond to people's privacy concerns while still not eliminating the ad tracking of some kind, because advertisers really want to know more. They don't look. There's that old saying in advertising that I know half of the money I spent on advertising works. I just don't know which half. There's always that, advertisers always feel like they're throwing money into the unknown, and the more they can say, well, at least we're advertising people who might buy our product. That's really all they want to know. Some of our advertisers actually get angry because they say, well, you drove 1,000 hits to our website, but none of them bought the product. I can't help you with that. I honestly can't help you with that. All I could do is get them to be interested enough to go see it. If they don't buy it,
you did the last mile. Now you got to close it.
You got to close it, man.
Yeah.
And so I shouldn't say that advertisers don't care, because they do. Every advertiser wants their dollar to have a $2 return on interest investment. But
so I did some research this week by chance and came across a couple interesting things. In the early bit of the last century, newspapers, I didn't realize this, would advertise that they censored the classified ads. Because newspapers themselves had really bad advertising. They were selling patent medicines, other kinds of crap.
Yeah, that's right.
But also their advertisers were really bad. And so the Postal Department threatened to regulate newspapers and declare them to be a public utility, along with various states.
So this is just like what's going on now.
It's just like before. Then the other thing that happened was newspapers have always been anti-competitive as hell, witness today. They also fought hard against the billboard industry and tried to basically get it outlawed, because this was junk that we shouldn't be advertising this. It's messing up the public, just like they tried to kill radio news years later, right? And so we've been going through this again and again and again and again. It ain't new.
Here is an interesting statistic. This is from Morning Consult. Brands, based on their average net trust rating, the share of people who they polled who say they trust a brand to do the right thing. This is rankings conducted between March 1st and 30th, 2021 in Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, the UK, and the US. Number 1, most trusted brand, Google. Number 2, PayPal, which is bizarre.
Yeah,
Number 3,
who's doing
trust
this
it to
survey?
take their money.
Microsoft, YouTube, Amazon, Sony, Adidas, Netflix, Visa, and Samsung. You know who's not in the top 10? Apple. This is Facebook. Well, if I wouldn't expect Facebook on this list, but I would.
But Google, for all the, oh my God, everybody hates the internet. Everybody's on the internet. What you were talking about before, Ant, in terms of media whipping up stuff, this is my moral panic argument, and I'm writing a book proposal, so watch out, there'll be more of it, is media would give us the impression that everybody hates Google.
I should point out that YouTube is also Google, so really Google has 2 out of the top 5 positions. Google's trusted.
And Amazon, which people are saying, you know, after the various labor messes they've had, number 5.
That's very
people like these services.
Yeah. Maybe that's what this is measuring more than anything else, is how they like it. And I think people like Google because they use Google and Google search, and for many people, Gmail are services.
The list indicates trust too, Leo, because PayPal, the reason PayPal is number 2 is because people are trusting their money.
Their money, yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right, we can move on a little bit, but
Can I go to a slightly related
You can,
story?
if you let me pause briefly for station identification. All right, now Jeff Jarvis.
I just found it interesting that the temptation to mess you up with those moments is.
I know you love it. I know.
I do.
I should just point out, just real quickly, nobody wanted to buy ads on this show. I don't know why. We don't do enough link bait. I don't know why, but this show is ad free, even if you didn't pay for it. So
that hurts.
Please, I beg of you, pay for it. No, I understand. In fact, I don't expect more than about 10% of our audience to pay for it. That would be by the way, that's
big.
That's our stretch goal. Public broadcasting, you know, with all the pledge nights and stuff they do, it's 5%. So if we
6
got
to 12,
6 to 12 is a little more than it used to be. So if we got 10, I would be over the moon, and it would be a huge success. So that means 90% of our audience is not paying for it, and I understand that. They're like you, Ant. They just say, "I'm not going to pay for that." I don't blame you.
But that's the thing, though. There are things that I will pay for. I do pay for Amazon Prime. I do pay for Netflix because I see value there. But there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm like, nah,
do you pay for any content? Do you pay for Netflix? I guess is content. So you anything else besides Netflix?
And now that I heard that there's a discount for the Washington Post, I will at least look at the Washington Post now for that discounted rate.
I think it's our best paper,
just to see if it's worth it. You know, I don't know.
The New York Times has become problematic.
You don't have to buy a newspaper subscription, Ant.
Really?
We're still
I'd like to be informed, and I would like to see.
Stacey and I made him feel bad. I'm sorry,
but no, I do think journalists should still be paid. So yeah.
What is the best way to get informed these days? That seems like a pretty imperfect way to read 5 newspapers.
I don't know. I think for me, it's probably asking Mr. Burke at the studio, because he seems to know.
He knows everything. We were talking on Windows Weekly about how crappy Microsoft News is. Apple News just as bad.
Microsoft has a news product?
Yeah, and it's bad. If you used Windows, you would.
They actually pay the papers. They have since the beginning.
It's awful. And so Apple News is also awful. Google News is of the 3. It's the better of the 3.
But even then, it has a lot of junk in it.
So
Google News keeps feeding me sports, and I keep telling it
exactly.
Now I've given up literally on all the. I'm like, don't show me basketball. Don't show me baseball. Now it's showing me cricket. It just really wants.
No,
me
you
to
want
watch
sports,
something
Stacey. We know you want sports.
We're going to give you sports.
That's hysterical.
It's like, okay.
That's curling's next.
If it makes you feel better.
I can't wait to see what new sport I will discover.
But I'm just curious. I mean, if anybody should know, we should know. How should somebody behave to be well informed? What is it? What do you do?
like John Oliver, I think some of the more comic, like,
that's why the Daily Show worked, right? Because there was a little bit of sugar with your medicine.
It politicized.
Yeah, because
but only if you're liberal. People on the right hate Jon Stewart and John Oliver. They hate him.
And Greg Gutman is no Jon Stewart.
I think it's hard because Ant really drives home. I think we feel like things should be black and white. And like when you talk about the real issues that we face in society, and I'm talking about everything from like systemic racism to police brutality, or to issues with our police departments, and even things like healthcare. These are complicated, highly sophisticated things where you have to know a lot, and you have to be willing to accept that there are trade-offs. And you can't, like, people don't want to think about trade-offs because it's hard and you have to have facts, and it feels like debate club. And news people are all the people who like debate club, right? We're all the people who are like, yeah, let's research the hell out of this and like pummel people with the information. And there's no easy way to solve this without recognizing and getting everybody, like citizens, to recognize that there are trade-offs associated with everything. And I don't know how to do that. You have to start with education. Like we do it with my daughter, who is like, you know, I hate capitalism. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that.
Let's explain.
We should not be deforesting the rainforest. And I'm like, well, let's talk about why that's happening. And then she's like, oh, this sucks.
It's a lot easier to do a bumper sticker than it is to do do a deep dive.
I don't think this is a new problem. I think that's
humans.
Why you have, quote, elites.
Humans.
You have the people who dig into this and want to fight it out. But then we get pissed off at them because they've put the effort, and they usually put the effort in because they have an agenda.
I was listening to a podcast the other day of people that you all know very well. And they were talking about COVID-19 and remedies and vaccines. And they said something like, don't listen to the medical elites. And it was like, wait a minute. You mean doctors?
Why not?
You mean epidemiologists? You mean scientists? Don't listen. But you see how they twisted that by calling them elites?
Elites,
right.
Yep.
Right. You know,
I'm going to listen to some idiot podcaster for my. I'm going to get my health
more
news
elites
from some idiot podcaster. Well, but we've always
go back to my COVID list. That's where I find the best information, and so I want systems where I can find experts in multiple areas.
But Americans have historically hated eggheads. Going back to Adlai Stevenson, right? That was when he was running for president. He was an egghead, aka an expert or a professor. Why is it we're so anti-elite? What is that?
No idea. I will say that
because we're a culture founded on rugged individualism
and egalitarianism, right?
Or
I won't say egalitarianism.
Myth of that,
right?
Yeah, but we're also a culture of people who were like, I mean, super individualistic, super independent. We're people who like literally, overthrew the government when they decided to tax us.
Right.
That is our founding mythology.
It's our history. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that I am privileged, and I recognize that, because you say, well, where do you get your news from? I have the privilege of knowing you folks and can come straight to you. I have the privilege of knowing someone like Dan Patterson. And if something ever pops up in my head, I pull him right up on the phone and just go from there. I have a couple different people in my circle that I can trust for news, because I go to them. I say, you know what? I don't know what's true out there. Can you help me? And they can answer. You all can answer for me, and it helps. But everybody doesn't have that privilege. I know that.
And there's also understanding the implications if you go to a primary source. Like Georgia's election law is a great example, actually.
Yeah.
Like that was 98 pages. And if you read the whole, like my husband read the whole law because he really wanted to understand what was happening. And he comes away and he's like, Stacey, I don't think it's that bad. And the reason he didn't is because he didn't understand all of the historical precedents that particular aspects of the law set. And that's So it's also because we, in some areas, occlude the meaning and the intent of things intentionally, which makes it also difficult for people to understand and also engenders more distrust. So I don't know. We're not going to solve this. This is not a solvable problem.
It's a fascinating
But I think we
question.
do have entirely new opportunities, right? And it starts with, I remember Dave Weiner talking about the early days of blogs. And you could have economists could now speak directly to the public, right? And you could go to the experts. You could listen to the economists, whatever you may think of economists. But I
was going to say, economists as experts, Jeff.
I know. But go to my COVID
the
list,
Economist
right? We can go to
magazine
epidemiologists.
is a very good source of information. It's just too expensive.
Yes, it is.
I subscribe. Stacey, I'm just going to be like, I subscribe to everything.
I think The Economist is quite good, don't you? But I just can't.
Yes, for $150 a year.
It's so expensive. I know. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I also subscribe to The New Yorker, and I can't keep up with it, but at least it's cheaper.
Another pile of guilt.
Yeah, pile of guilt. You know what? I thought this might be a good time to go to our stage and ask our listeners how they keep up with what's going on in the world around us. So if you're in the stage room on our Discord server, it's called Twig Live, raise your hand if you have a thought about all this. Let's just try it. Let's just see. We may regret this. Especially because the first person up on the stage is named Captain Jack. Mr. Sparrow, you may jump right in. Go ahead and pot this up, John, on the stage. Are you there, Jack?
Hey, Leo.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, group. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for joining Club TWiT.
Absolutely. So I can't show you on screen here right now because obviously we don't do video yet.
Not yet. We're working on that.
I keep up 4 different browsers with YouTube TV, and they've got my BBC, Al Jazeera, and NBC and Fox. And whenever they sync up on something, I know it's important.
That actually is pretty good.
Wow.
If Fox and Al Jazeera agree on anything, I'll be amazed. But I think that's a reasonable algorithm, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is an algorithm.
How do you watch all 4 of them at the same time?
I'll put it in the chat, but 4 different YouTube TV windows on a.
But you must have one mute them all except one. You must do you rotate through them or something? It's kind of it's kind of like the NFL Red Zone where you have all the games on, and if something interesting happens, you unmute that one. Is that kind of how you're doing it?
You can see the lower thirds.
Closed captions.
I
do closed captions on all of them. I don't have audio on any of them.
You could probably read faster than they can speak all of them. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good plan, Captain
Nice
Jack.
hack.
Thanks for sharing with us. That's great. How about now? Don't judge these people based on their chat handles. Okay, I'm just saying.
Oh, I am.
King Wing 27. What do you think?
I mainly just use Google News, which is not great, but it's better than the alternative.
Do you use the main thing is those top 5 stories for you? And I actually find that those are usually pretty close to what I'm interested in.
Well, lately I haven't been using it just because it's all about COVID, and I'm just kind of don't want to hear.
We're
about
all
it
done
anymore.
with that one, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, where I live, we're not.
Where are you calling from?
So I'm calling from Ontario, Canada.
Oh yeah.
And we're in our 3rd wave lockdown.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We're deeply in it. So I use that, and then I follow mainly tech news. So I go to CNET and other places.
Yeah, that's a lot easier. That's what most of my news consumption is and that's a lot easier. As Ant said, a tech meme and Nuzzle. There's lots of ways to kind of keep up on tech news, and there's a few enough voices that you can kind of get a consensus opinion on any one subject. So that is easier than politics. Politics is a little harder, I think. King Wing,
don't call it politics. Call it policy.
Policy, yeah. King Wing, thank you. I'm going to let you wander from the stage. I want to do one more before we move on, and that's Joe. Joe, I'm inviting you up onto the stage. We're finding out what people really think, an education for this panel. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, I like Apple News Plus more than I thought I would. They have quite a few sources. The Wall Street Journal's on there. The National Review is on there. Obviously, they have magazines on there like Wired. I know that they don't necessarily offer all of the Wall Street Journal, for example, but it seems to have a good cross-section of a lot of good content.
It's a lot cheaper way to get the journal. Yeah.
Yeah, and they seem to have a number of respected sources across the political spectrum, right? I mean, I think, the National Review and NPR don't necessarily agree on.
I've actually enjoyed reading the National Review, and I also read a libertarian magazine called Reason. And while I rarely agree with either, they at least are thoughtful and well thought out and intelligent.
And you at least get to see.
Are they reasoned?
Yes, they're reasoned. I'm not a libertarian, but at least there's some intelligence behind it. Hey Joe, good suggestion. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
really. I tried to convince
like hearing voices to go with people's avatars and names.
Isn't that nice?
That's kind of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So I think we'll just do this from time to time, especially on something where we can't really decide what the answer is, and
we can choose to go to them too.
We have a smart audience, and one of the reasons we've always used the chat, the IRC chat, and now we're using Discord, is I've always wanted to make everything we do more interactive. I don't want to be sitting up here preaching. I think it's a conversation, and everything we do is somewhat of a conversation. But the more voices we can get in, the better. I really appreciate that. Thank you for those of all four of you.
Thanks, folks.
And all of you who've joined the TWiT club. Oh, by the way, I created a new tab in Firefox, and Firefox uses Pocket for news suggestions. I just want to give you an example. So this is a magazine you read, Eon. Stacey, I know you like Eon. The obesity era, as American people get fatter, so did marmosets, vervet monkeys, and mice. That's one of them. From domino.com. My boyfriend and I sleep in separate rooms and love it.
Oh, God.
So far, I would click on all of these stories.
They're good, right? Slate, really, though, what jeans are in style now?
I read that story. Oh. I have so many thoughts.
I've
are you
so long ago.
I'm loving it. It's great.
Finally, from Inc.com, 35 smart habits that will train other people to treat you with respect.
We have to completely reinvent media.
Clearly. There were 2 news stories in here, but actually a few more. But those were the top stories. Oh, my God.
Google, when it's not feeding me sports, actually does a pretty good job. I mean, if it just didn't have that weird hang up, like you must have a well-rounded news profile, must have sports. I'm just looking through. It's all about AI.
It took it a while for me, too.
It learns as you're using
celebrity news
I know.
And weddings and stuff as if I really care who's having a baby. And I kept denying it. Then it finally started giving me all of my sports and tech stuff back. But it was a little weird.
But one bad click, that's the problem. Okay, I'm going to confess, Meghan Markle, around the Oprah interview, I was like, I am here for this at the end of the pandemic. I'm
the one person that wasn't interested in it. I think I'm the one person
I clicked and it screwed up my algorithm.
It does.
So bad.
They're so desperate and needy for signals that you actually don't. I actually am aware of this and don't read articles because I don't want to give them any signals that I might want to read more of these.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it has Real Housewives in it, I don't care how link baity. I'm not clicking on it. Not doing it.
If I read that jeans story, I'd get ads for mom jeans for the rest of my life. I just don't want it.
It is a real issue, Leo. This is a very big issue.
The pain is real.
This is the transition from 32 to 64-bit. So what's happening here is we're going to have to re-architect our entire wardrobes.
I need a 64-bit pant.
But instead of 64-bit, it's like we don't actually know what kind of instruction set we're going for yet. Everyone's like, well, maybe we'll use, or not instruction set, sorry.
Can I ask you a question, actually, as long as we're on jeans?
Yes.
So...
Fashion moment with Stacey.
I don't know if it's because I'm fat, heavy around the middle, but all the pants sold for young people. This is a suit I got from Taylor Store, which I love, and it's tailored to me. But they're all low-rise, kind of hip-hugger pants. And I know that because maybe it's because I'm old. I want to have my pants up to my nipples. I don't know, but I just feel like they're too low, and I can't bring them higher because the end of my legs, they won't. That's where the pant meets. They won't. They kick, but they seem so low that they're always about to fall off. What do you think, Dr. Higginbotham? Should I see a specialist?
Well, do you want high-rise pants? I'm like, okay, I'm not a man.
Fall off as I walk around.
Man, her face.
Suspenders, a belt.
I think that's the choice. But I just feel like, why would you make pants? Is it that young people's hips are wider, that their guts are smaller? Why would you? No,
what happens is, well, I don't know if men ever had an option of a super high rise. Like right now in women's pants, you can get like even an 11-inch rise, which is huge. Like that's the seam from your crotch basically up to the waistband.
Yeah. That's the mom pants I've been thinking of. They go really high.
Yeah. So I don't know. Guys, like in the 40s, I think guys had that silhouette actually with like the zoot suit pants.
Yeah. Why can't we bring that back? I want pants to go over my belly.
Just Google high-rise pants for men.
Okay.
Say you're looking for a 10-inch rise.
Your internet feeds are going to be doomed forever then.
Mr. Report, I bet you grab your wallet like this.
Over my back?
Here's your issue. The problem is as you get older and you get your belly.
That's really the problem is the belly, isn't it? Yeah.
Your shape gets messed up. And so when
stuff, it's like a funnel. The pants just slide right down.
Yeah, it's going to fall down unless you have elastic, which is kind of not what you want.
No, I really want
belts
sweats.
or suspenders.
Yeah, sweats. I think suspenders. That's what I did. I converted to suspenders.
It's pretty much why I wear sweats most of the time. Sweats and gym shorts.
Have no belly, sir. You are ripped.
No, but breeches are a pain in the butt for me to find because they don't fit right in the waist.
I love that you just called them breeches.
Oh, sorry.
Like my dad.
Oh, sorry. I just caught.
I'm like, Dad, is that you?
I feel like we're talking to George Washington here.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm a Southerner for life.
I call them.
Awesome.
I call them knickerbockers myself.
But yeah, they're hard to buy for me because either the waist is not quite right or the thighs are not quite right. And it's been like that forever and a day. So I just grab sweatpants and gym pants. Or
you just need a larger size pant so you get your thigh circumference and then tailor them in at the waist. That's easy.
There you go.
Yeah, wear a lot of belts.
All right. And wear a lot of belts. The ratchet belt is awesome.
Yeah. Why is the Daily Mail suing Google?
I found this amusing.
So the Daily Mail is
Daily Mail, by the way,
a notorious British
trash
tabloid.
sheet of trash sheets.
Yeah,
it's awful. So they're suing, saying that Google doesn't favor them in the algorithm.
This is what we've been complaining about. I don't want to see Daily Mail stories in my Google News.
Exactly. That's why it amused me.
It fits right in.
Google's doing its job.
Yeah, that's good. If they're suing
to the court brief.
Can we talk about something that I'm really excited about, or should we not? It's even a highlighted green story.
We can.
And it's not jeans.
After this station identification, you're listening to the TWiT Podcast Network. Stacey Higginbotham has a story for us. Go ahead, Stacey.
Okay, so I'm really excited because this morning the EU issued its proposal for legislation around AI and AI apps. No, Jeff, this is actually really good legislation. You read it, so but you don't think this is good?
I was impressed. I thought it was good. As we know, Jeff doesn't like any regulation of technology.
No, that's not true. I don't.
I'm going to let Jeff talk
you
in
explain
a minute.
it first. Okay. You explain it first. Yes.
I'm going to tell you what they're going to do or what they want to do. They're basically trying to classify the outcomes of your AI algorithm on what it is intended or what your AI is intending to do and on the outcomes. So the risk levels are unacceptable for, like, they talk about things like coercion of minors and things like that. They also have the high risk areas, and this is where things like biometrics, that would be DNA scans, facial recognition, and iris scans all fall into high risk. And in the high risk category, what they're asking for companies to do is basically document their process of like how their algorithm was built, annotated the data that goes into it, and then to actually test it when, test it, I guess, in a lab function to see what the implications are, and then to come back and continue to do that. So to me, I look at that and I think, okay, that makes sense. It's fundamentally changing the way the software industry has worked, which is like, hey, let's throw some beta out there and see what happens. But I think the EU is trying to make a distinction in areas where it's not just a cool feature for like your email provider, but this is like, I'm setting bail for someone or a real life and death, life-changing kind of thing. They're like, hey, let's have you show your work and test it out a little bit before you release it to the public.
I think
that's my take. Go,
very
Jeff.
sensible. But Jeff, what's wrong with that?
Well, and I think as it stands, Stacey, you're right. This is not bad, but I can see danger at every bullet in the list here. So I said this the other week on the show. I think that the biggest mistake the technology industry made in the last couple of decades was naming it artificial intelligence, because those became scare words, right? And even algorithm is a scare word. Data is a scare word now.
Well, math
much
is a
of this
scare
stuff
word,
is
so.
done now. So what is
math?
I didn't hear
math.
Oh, math. Yes. Well, that's true.
I'm sorry,
true.
Jeff.
Or if they say in the England, maths, which I never got. Why is it plural, maths?
Well, it's funny is
Okay,
maths
anyway.
is plural, but sport is singular.
No, we're not going to go there.
Okay.
I know.
Keep going, Jeff.
We'll never get back.
Take us down your slippery
here's an
slope,
example
man.
That's called link bait.
Where
you got me. Right by the, you got me right there. You like a hook in the fish in the mouth. It's like,
there's a Seinfeld moment.
Yeah.
Why is it now?
Why is sports plural, but math singular? But look, okay, I'm going to go through these bullet points, and you can tell me what's
hospital.
wrong.
Why is it in hospital? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So for example,
Jeff, to make his point,
how do people create credit scores now? Right? There are algorithms now. When you go to the bank,
right,
they have formulae based on their experience that say people who do this are good credit risk, people who do that are bad credit risk. They've always done that. And they did it, with Scriveners and pens long ago. And then they did it more and more with formulae.
And they do the same thing with insurance.
Now there's some wall that says, it's artificial intelligence.
Right.
Well, now it's an evil thing.
Yeah, no,
right?
I think any algorithm.
This isn't saying it's evil.
It's any algorithm can be conflated with AI, and they're not the same thing. But I want to go through these bullet points because I agree with you, Stacey. This doesn't seem like a bridge too far. For instance, a ban on AI for indiscriminate surveillance, including systems that directly track individuals in physical environments.
Please go to the actual law.
Okay, so this is the problem is the law has been leaked. It's a proposal that's circulating online. Is the draft out?
The proposal, yeah. Here, where do you want me to drop this?
Just tell me where to find it, because I'm reading the Verge article, but it was from a couple of days ago. So they
go to the ec.europa.eu.
Okay,
and if you go to the Commission's press page,
Europe Fit for the Digital Age, Commission proposes new rules and actions for excellence and trust in artificial intelligence. And I agree.
You can scroll down to like where they start classifying.
Here it is. High risk. Critical infrastructures that could put the life and health of citizens at risk. I think this must be self-driving vehicles, things like that, right? Educational or vocational training that may determine access to education. AI systems should not be used in ... critical infrastructures, educational or vocational training.
They're not saying they shouldn't be used in. They're saying that if they're in these categories, you have to follow rules about basically explaining. It's basically showing your work and then auditing your work.
And here are the obligations. Adequate risk assessment and mitigation systems, high quality of the data sets. In other words, not just a bunch of white people for face recognition, logging of activity to ensure traceability of results. This seems fair. Detailed documentation, providing all information necessary on the system and its purpose for authorities to assess its compliance. Clear and adequate information to the user. Yes. appropriate human oversight measures to minimize risk, CF RoboCop, and a high level of robustness, security, and accuracy.
So if you look at, Jeff, like your credit card scoring, your FICO score, this is actually really, I think this is useful because it gives transparency to how those things are assessed.
How did you calculate this? Not that you can't calculate it, but how did you get to this? And like, I think that's fair.
Like we saw this with Stanford actually in their COVID vaccine algorithm or flowchart, however you want to call it, when they decided who got the vaccine, and then suddenly they were like, "Oh, this prioritized older people who were not on the front lines," and Stanford published it, and then everyone said, "Oh, here's your issue."
Yeah.
Like that's the process that we want these things to go through, and this law says these following classes will have to do this. So you can't just shrug it off. It's basically doing what Stanford did. And companies don't want this because they don't want that transparency. Some of them may feel it's competitive advantage. And it does change the way that we release products and will slow things down somewhat.
I think it's also good.
Well, actually, some of the big companies may be in favor of it because they can afford to do this,
compliance.
Whereas startups can't.
Right. They do distinguish
but I don't think you should be a startup if you can't. If you're going to put out an AI algorithm that like tracks someone's bail and says, I think you are morally responsible, you have to be responsible for those actions. I don't think that's a problem.
We want to know how they calculate that. I agree with you 100%.
It's like you have to have a license to be a lawyer or a doctor. Right. I'm not saying all licensing is good. Braiding hair seems a bit excessive, but
I think quite importantly, they make the distinction between uses of AI with limited risk and minimal risk. They say, for instance, the proposal allows the free uses of applications such as AI-enabled video games or spam filters. The vast majority of AI systems fall into this category, and the draft regulation does not intervene here. So they do at least say, well, this is uses of AI that are de minimis, and these are the ones that might be more significant. And I think that
right. But I guess part of my question is, why is it just AI then?
It should be algorithms, but this is algorithms.
Right?
This is algorithms, and that's really, I think they say AI because AI is understood and well known and all that, but they really should just say computer algorithms because that's what. Well,
and they
is.
define that they talk about AI systems, they talk about apps. I think they talk about the definition somewhere in here, but I can't remember. But ideally, like.
This stuff is not clearly AI. For instance, they say biometric identification systems. That's
they're
not
basically
AI.
saying when you put a computer in charge of making a decision about a person or a thing,
that's right.
Here are the cases where we probably need a little more oversight.
Right. Yeah. I think this is completely appropriate, to be honest with you.
And at this level, I won't disagree, but the funny thing is I fear.
I understand. I completely agree. Yeah.
I fear them going over, and I've seen how European regulation has worked out to date, and it's pretty crappy.
Well, like that cookie thing.
NetState is an awful law, because it's out of fear.
So, but Jeff, you would, I think, agree that it is prudent and reasonable to consider AI and its use and to put some limits on it, or at least some requirements on it, right?
I tend to think that if you want to regulate surgery, you regulate surgery. And whether it's AI or not doesn't really matter. It's how you regulate that activity. So
don't call it AI. Call it decision or computer decision making. Either way.
Well, even why is it computer decision making? Humans make a lot of bad decisions too.
Yeah, but it's a little harder to investigate their algorithm.
You can ask them. Like if that's why people hate bureaucracies, but you can go to a person and say, stop doing that, right? You have the chance to say, let me talk to your manager. When you go to Facebook because you disagree with their algorithm or you find it harms people, you're stuck in this. And there was actually a really good article about getting stuck in the Facebook bureaucracy where I don't know if it's intentional or not. They've built systems that when you're badly affected by it, there's nowhere to go. There's no way to really address it unless you can get media attention and then people call in.
Right. So I'll say regulate the companies for any behavior, not just AI. then whatever
No,
behavior you
I
find
think
difficult and dangerous, whatever the cause of it.
Okay, that's fine. Of course, that's fine.
You need to regulate at a technology level here, because it's not, if you regulate by the company's individual deployment of something, it's too one-off. You need to, and these are broad general rules over a big class.
But every company will have their own algorithms, and they'll all be different. They'll all be proprietary.
I know, but we can see them. That's the beauty. When you go to Facebook and you say, hey, our presidential election is all screwed up and we have anti-vaxxers everywhere, we would like to understand why this is happening. Facebook can say, here's the process by which we're feeding information to people, and here's why it's doing that. In companies, just so you know, Jeff, companies already have, there's a field called ML ops. They already have the things in place to document their data science, like how they built the algorithm. They document their data sets. That's already in existence at any company building this, because if their data scientist keels over, they need to be able to say, oh, well, they're gone. Now we have to do this ourselves, right? So it's not a new burden for anybody who's doing data science at any level. It's the audit and the accountability.
2 weeks ago,
go ahead, Ed.
2 weeks ago on This Week in Enterprise Tech, Miss Triveni Gandhi, I believe was her name. She was pretty much talking about all of this. She's a senior data scientist, I believe, for DataQ, and they talk all about this ML ops and all of the issues with ethics behind it. And I believe we even got into a discussion about looking at it the way Asimov had the robotics law. What was it?
Yeah. That's widely considered to be bogus, but okay. The laws of robotics make no sense.
Laws of robotics.
Yeah, they're not even internally consistent, but that's fine.
But my only other point, Stacey, is, and this will go to your favorite thing for me, is what leads to a fear regime that leads to moral panic. I can give you an example from the U.S. Representative Tom Malinowski, who is my representative in New Jersey, who I think is great, and I've supported him, full disclosure, and given him money, and when we could knock on doors, I knocked on doors from him. He's come up with probably the best effort to slice off 230. I still think it's bad. I still think there's a lot of problems with it, and I attended a session with him and then talked to a few people on Capitol Hill about this. One of my biggest complaints is the nickname of the bill, the Dangerous Algorithms Bill, right? And so when we start separating out artificial intelligence and dangerous algorithms, we have a larger impact on the adoption of technology and the use and some of the stupid regulation that can then follow. So I'm always sensitive to that and how it's positioned. That's part of my problem here. So that this is about artificial intelligence. If we'd never named it artificial intelligence, I don't know that this law would exist. There might have been something else. You're right. You had an ML ops operation. There were other things to know. But by putting it up in that kind of labeling, it often leads to problems.
I am talking, well, okay. I'm just going to go with, I think you agree with me and you're mad at the fact that it uses AI.
No, I worry about how they'll F this up, because I saw how they F'd up privacy in a lot of ways, not as bad as other areas.
GDPR is actually not a terrible... GDPR in the EU is actually a decent law. I mean,
GDPR is an okay law, but it has problems. It has some wackiness in there.
Every law
has
problems,
PII.
Jeff. I mean,
there is no such thing as perfection. We're making attempting to make a progress towards perfection. And I think you got to take a step. You can't take no steps saying, well, we can't get it right. Let's not do anything.
But you also need a voice of caution about this, which I am.
I'm glad you are. And you're absolutely right. And sure, they have screwed things up sometimes.
As you say, Stacey, we have to have a conversation about it. And this is that conversation.
Yeah.
What could go wrong with Fury and everything that go wrong is a conversation to have.
Well, and one thing I note in the, at least and this isn't the law, but the proposal is they don't actually define AI. They talk about the benefits of AI.
Yeah, they don't have a definition here.
They need a definition. And I think that's part of that is actually a problem, because
that's
what are you regulating?
What's the line?
But computer algorithms that impact human behavior should probably be regulated to some degree, at the very least requiring transparency that's kind of minimum.
So what the Malinowski bill does.
They have.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say they kind of have divided this up into they call it the machinery products, which is like the hardware.
Right.
And then the AI is basically pretty much the software side is
Right.
really kind of what it looks like they're doing here. And they have new machinery regulation. So they're using, I mean, could they say software? Sure. But you know how politicians.
Well, and that kind of supports a little bit Jeff's argument, because until you say what you're regulating in a way that's clear,
Better said than I did.
yeah,
Yes.
then I think maybe
Then it
you,
could be
you
anything.
need to go back to the table and say, well, what exactly are you regulating here? And if you replaced AI with algorithms, computer algorithms, I'd be comfortable with what they're proposing here. You can't say it's AI that TikTok uses or Facebook uses to cultivate the news feed, or TikTok uses to put on the front page. That's not AI. That's an algorithm. But I
Even-
think
even
that
then,
should
Leo,
be transparent. I think it
The
totally should be
Malinowski
transparent.
bill
Yeah.
says basically algorithms are bad, but if you do things in chronological order, that's okay. Well,
That's
that can get
not
gamed as
true.
bad as anything.
That's not true. Yeah.
Right.
Algorithms
Yeah,
aren't per se
this
bad, but
doesn't-
it should be transparent. Because if the algorithm says no fat people on the front page, you'd want to know that.
But the issue isn't what you want to know is the impact of it. Whoever made that algorithm, whatever data made algorithm, they may not know it. It's more about studying.
That's what
and
this is
researching the
calling
impact.
for. This is saying when you put out an algorithm, you have to, before you put out the algorithm, you have to assess how it will affect people.
Yes.
You
But
have
you may
to
not
show
know until it's
first.
out.
Well, do your
then,
best.
and then you need check.
Well, you have to do it. And then there's presumably this is what the appropriate human oversight offers, is saying that oversight will be used to, it says, measure to minimize risk. So that's saying, hey, when we see that this algorithm is causing, harm, we can go back and say, yo, this is happening, fix it.
Google's
How'd you get
at
to
it,
this?
at it again. They're moving profits offshore. A Google subsidiary moved $75 billion in profits through Ireland in 2019 using the double
What's new about this?
Irish. I thought that we had
No,
close that
what
loophole.
The big change is the Biden administration, the Treasury Department, is finally suggesting international agreements on how to tax these companies. That's what you need is international agreements to crack down on this stuff. But right now, they're just doing what their stockholders want. And no, it hasn't gone away. This is about law and diplomacy.
So the way they're avoiding taxes on that $75 billion in profits is moving it through a subsidiary of Google incorporated in Ireland, and then registered, for the purposes of paying taxes, domiciled in Bermuda, where the tax is 0%. It's called the Double Irish. The company that these profits move through has 0 employees. So it's not really a company. It's an entity created specifically to avoid taxes. And I guess it's not illegal, or Google wouldn't be doing it. And of course, that's Google's defense, is we're just doing what we are legally allowed to do. But of course, we have to remember that the reason that loopholes like this are in the law is because lobbyists from Google and other companies went to legislators and said, by the way,
Google's
This
not
exists
the
long
only
before
business doing this
no,
stuff.
not Google by any means. Absolutely. Yeah.
This is just a long.
Yeah. Google,
I mean, how
we need
many
to
of
change it.
y'all, how many of y'all protest your property tax appraisals?
I don't. Can
just-
I? Am I allowed to?
Yes, you can dispute. Well, in Texas, you could dispute your property
Oh, that's
tax
Texas. You
appraisals.
can dispute
Well, that's
anything
Texas.
in Texas.
And you're armed, so they're scared of you.
There you go. Well, I'm just saying that, like, the
I'm sure
laws
I
are
could,
written and
Yeah, I'm sure I could go and
figure out how
say,
to take advantage of
hey,
it.
my house isn't worth that much. What are you
I
talking
did
about?
ask one time, Stacey. I did ask one time, my guy, and he was incredibly knowledgeable about every house on the block and what was different. And he beat me down. And I wasn't even trying to fight so much as to say, I don't understand this. And he was unbelievable.
Let me
in
explain
knowing
to you,
stuff.
Mr. Jarvis.
Yes, and he did. He did.
If you want me to do my job.
Even I was left speechless.
This was, by the way, the last year, 2019, that Google was taking advantage of the double Irish with the Bermuda rates around. But it changed its tax structure that year, and Google was quick to point that out. In December 2019, in line with the OECD's BEPS conclusions and changes to U.S. and Irish tax laws, we simplified our corporate structure and started licensing our IP from the U.S., not Bermuda. including all annual and one-time income taxes over the past 10 years, our global effective tax rate has been over 20%. What is our global effective tax rate, honey? 48%. Okay, just checking. Google's only paying 20. Just checking.
Well, that's the thing about the fight over the infrastructure bill and the tax rate. This tax rate is it's meaningless. It's the effective tax rate you want to get to. Yeah. 25, 28%, 21%, whatever. That's meaningless.
Well, I'll have to have you explain that sometime to me, Jeff. But for now, I'm going to have to appeal my property tax.
Yeah. Stacey,
okay, baby. I don't know.
No, I think it's probably something that I'm sure I could do it, but I suspect it's something that's done more often in the great state of Texas than here in.
Well, I'm sure you can do it and it gets shot down.
In People's Republic of California, we don't do those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, I was always against it, but my husband was.
And did you win? Were you able to get a rebate?
Yeah, you usually get your valuation. You're protesting the value of your house.
Yeah,
is what it's.
You're saying it should be.
California is weird because of Prop 13 Jarvis Gant.
Right. We still get assessed. Right. You get assessed on sale. You get assessed. There's still plenty of.
But you get assessed on sale, but then you're only allowed to go up 1% a year.
Right.
So basically, don't protest.
But in Texas, you can go up. You know, if you're assessed at a huge amount, your property tax will suddenly go.
Yeah, but you're not paying income tax, so you should just pay your darn tax and shut up.
Yeah,
that was my argument to my husband, but he was like, "That's why this is here," and that's kind of the Google argument. I mean, it is the Google's argument.
No, of course it is.
It is.
They wrote the law that way.
It's the legislator's job to say what's what, to define it.
We wrote the law that way. We bought our legislature. We paid good money for them, and we should do whatever they say.
Right, I want to hear what you have to say about Facebook pivoting to audio. I'm dying to hear what you think about it.
So I heard that, on Sunday that Mark Zuckerberg is going to make some big announcement on Monday. Then I didn't see anything about the announcement. What was it?
He talked to, was it Casey?
Yeah. I always want to say Casey Affleck, but it's Casey Newton.
A suite of audio products, a Clubhouse, of course, because all social networks do what all social networks do, a push into podcasting, an argument that he now favors content creators, because also on the news side, they've also announced a slew of products to help news people with external blogs, things off of Facebook, by the way. We talked about that a few weeks ago. A plan to integrate Spotify's music player into Facebook.
It's so funny. This almost tells me that Facebook has not, I for a long time thought that Zuckerberg was a smart guy making all the right moves, and maybe he was for a while. But lately, it's just like, what are you guys doing? Oh, we'll do that.
Yeah.
What's the hot thing now? Clubhouse? Oh, we can do that. By the way, I should point out that the technology that we used earlier to bring people on into Discord was like an exact duplicate of Clubhouse. Apparently, there's nothing to stop anybody from doing that. So everybody and their brother's doing it. I think even Slack is going to be doing it.
Everybody's going to do it. Everybody. Yeah. So, which also goes against the monopoly argument. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, there's no monopoly. Yeah, Facebook users can record brief voice messages and post them in their news feeds. I'm surprised you couldn't. You could do videos, so now you can do audios.
Which is weird.
Do a video and people go, I don't understand that. And then the podcast discovery product. So Apple announced also a big podcast push on yesterday, including subscriptions, very much like what we did with Club Twit. We wouldn't do it with Apple because it would be, you'd have to use Apple Podcasts to listen. It'd be Apple centric. So that's silly. Why would we do that? But, I think a lot of podcasters who, are just starting would be thrilled. Apple does take 30% compared to Memberful's 4.9%. That's a significant difference. But they also said they were going to change or update the podcast discovery mechanisms. It has always been the case for any podcast, including ours, throughout the ages, that if you were highlighted on a platform, especially on iTunes,
Apple Podcasts,
or if you were highlighted on Spotify, or if you were highlighted on Stitcher, or any one of these places, it makes a huge difference. We'd see, all of a sudden, I'd see numbers on Stitcher go through the roof, and I'd say, Lisa, what happened on Stitcher? Oh, they featured us this week. But the problem is, it goes way up and then it goes way back down. So it doesn't make a big difference in the overall, but it's certainly something you want. The fact that Facebook's going to use Spotify to do this is I guess, good. It sounds like Facebook's actually going to be sending them to Spotify, which is interesting. It can't be that hard to create a podcast product on Facebook. Rooms is their version of Clubhouse.
Did I even know there were rooms on Facebook?
I don't know.
I still don't have Spaces on Twitter.
I don't have rooms because I don't have
it?
Facebook. I don't have Spaces because I don't know why. I
have Spaces.
Do you?
Oh,
I should check.
I
They
do.
supposedly
I have
rolled it
it.
out to pretty much everybody.
I check my Twitter client to see if I've got Spaces.
It's only on your mobile client.
Yeah.
But they supposedly
okay.
rolled it out to everybody on the Android side now, right?
Oh, on Android.
Yeah. So if you hit the plus, like to start a new tweet, you don't get Spaces, photos, GIF, or text.
Oh yeah, I get that.
I can do hit record. I can do an audio of what's happening. Well, I'm just sitting here right now.
You don't
doing
get that, Ant?
podcast,
No, sir.
and then I'm done. And what is
When
that?
you hit the plus,
Right.
what happens when you
Even
plus?
Oh,
I even saw you supposed to do the long press or whatever. I get none of that.
Oh.
man, I can't do the
I don't get-
voice record
I
though.
don't get stages. Yes, this is what's so
Spaces.
weird. Spaces. This is so what's weird about these platforms is everybody has a different experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't. So if I hit
I can
this,
view a space.
this
from
looks like I
someone.
can. That's the audio thing. You don't have that, Stacy?
That's me.
Oops.
I don't
Let me
have
see.
Oh, you don't
Do
have
it again.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Oh, that little blue purple little squiggle. That's audio.
I don't have that.
Then there's a
don't have
picture. I
that.
could post a picture. I don't see
I
anything
only
that
have
looks
the big
spaces
plus.
like. What about this
Yeah, same here,
plus? What does
Stacey.
this do? That's a story,
Oh wait,
right?
maybe if I just
that's
tweet.
a thread. I could just many more tweets. Cancel. I don't want to send out a
Plus
tweet. Delete. All right. I don't know what I can do.
All right.
No, I can't.
I
do
wasn't
audio.
super interested in it, but I was going to try it one Saturday while I was just sitting out there in the backyard because
Barbecuing.
people have added me to their spaces on Twitter. And I was like, I never got the notification that I have that capability. But when I saw in one of those tech stories that I read, they said, yeah, Android people should have it by now.
Here's Messenger.
They haven't heard your dulcet tones.
Here's Rooms on Facebook. It's in Messenger, Jeff. So it's Messenger Rooms, a new way to hang out with your favorite people on video chat. It's not Facebook proper. It's Facebook Messenger.
Oh, I see. So it's like a video call for multiple. Okay.
Oh, look, you don't have to have a Facebook account to join the room.
Oh my.
Oh, my.
Otherwise, nobody could call anybody.
Yeah, right.
I could
Well,
never call
do you have
know.
to have Messenger?
Yeah, I guess that means you have to have a Facebook account. No, it says you can click a link. So if somebody sends you a link, you'll just join right in. Let me create a room.
That's actually good because there are a lot of people who hate Facebook.
I can't create this in Firefox. I have to do it in Chrome.
It's all flocked up.
Why does
Back to
it?
the terminal.
That's a good one, Stacey. Why doesn't Facebook have its own browser? Shouldn't they just have a
God.
Why
Facebook
doesn't
browser?
Facebook offer computing as a service? I have so many questions about Facebook.
Bingbo.
They have the resources.
They could do it.
They do. They could offer some really compelling things, especially around, I'll hate to say it, AI. But
Good story
they
on
just don't do
Axios about everybody cloning Clubhouse. Dollars flow to live audio as moderation problems loom. Here are the people rolling out products that are suspiciously like Clubhouse.
Let's
Facebook,
add Reddit to this list. It's brand new since then.
Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, Discord. We just used it. Apple. It's going to do its own audio news, but I don't know if they're going to do that.
The interesting thing about this story is this moderation problem. How do you moderate audio? Because it's fleeting.
Yeah.
It's ephemeral, right?
Yeah, it's a lot harder to moderate it. You don't know.
There's going to be awful stuff going on.
Yeah.
And it said Clubhouse had to shut down rooms discussing Jewish white privilege.
Oh.
Yeah.
In other words, anti-Semitic rooms.
Right. Well, a higher tone version of anti-Semitism
Yeah.
on Clubhouse. I
Yeah,
know
it's
that.
privilege. If you call it privilege, it's not discrimination. It's just
Elitist. Wasn't that the word?
the
earlier?
medical elites, the Jewish elites. Facebook's oversight board has decided to delay its decision for a few more weeks on the Trump ban so they can take comments.
Though they've been taking them, they can read all 9,000 of them.
It doesn't take weeks to read 9,000 comments, but okay.
You have people to do that for you.
Do I sense a little nervousness about their decision? What do you think they're going to decide? So this is all about President Trump being banned from Facebook. The Facebook Oversight Board, which is a high-level group of how many? It's like 30 people.
It's 20.
20. But prestigious, high-quality people
very.
Who can make binding decisions on Facebook's bans and other things. And they took on the Trump ban. If they, for instance, announced that, no, you have to reinstate him, Facebook would have to reinstate the former president.
Meanwhile, Apple's putting Parler back under political pressure. So
but they're saying with some stipulations, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's really do you think they caved to political pressure?
Apple?
Who wants Parler back?
Well, they had the letters from the senators who demanded it.
Ted Cruz.
I'm going to say that they have a huge following, so somebody's going to yell loud enough at the right people, and clearly they did.
Interesting.
Yep.
Should Twitter reinstate the former president?
No.
Slippery
it's been so
slope.
nice. It's been so quiet.
It's been quiet, hasn't it?
It's been so
Should Facebook reinstate him? It's not quite the same.
No.
If he's not the president anymore, it kind of is an interesting question.
Yes.
Just because
he's no longer a national leader, so he's not protected. If he says something that others would be banned for, I think you ban him, right?
Yeah.
You don't give him special privilege. Maybe when he's the president, you did. They certainly did. But once you're not the president, if you say something that would anybody else would be banned for, why wouldn't you be?
Which would bring the argument that the stuff that was said was during the presidency. Shouldn't his slate be wiped clean now?
Or a sin's a sin and it's still on his record, his permanent record, as we said in high school.
Well, if the issue isn't that he's sinned, but the issue is that he's a powerful person deliberately spreading misinformation that has real world implications, then you could say he's no longer president, so he can be as crazy as he wants to be.
P.S. Chop says he's still a national leader, even if he's not in office. He
has Secret Service.
I mean,
he's the titular leader of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's how you have to judge this call. We can't just judge it based on the fact that, he's a crazy racist old man who's spewing vitriol all over Twitter. We have to say, okay, is that any different from the other crazy racist old men spilling vitriol?
Well, when you took the Twitter quiz, we all took the Twitter quiz together. I think I remember both of you saying that prominent people should be held to a higher standard than the hoi polloi. Okay.
Higher standard or lower standard?
My argument
they get
was
some protection.
You said then higher standard.
I did? Okay.
Powerful people should tell people the truth, I think, is kind of where I was. I do remember.
Well,
it is hard.
Politics.
No, I know.
It's a really interesting question.
That was silly, Stacey.
I vote that they're scared of they're nervous about the decision, and
I think they're nervous either way.
Of course,
right.
It's a no-win.
I mean, I think the oversight board's decision. I thought the oversight board was a decent idea, well done, and then the oversight board's decisions to date, I think, have been awful, all in all. And so I'm ready to, we'll see how they do on this one.
Amazon is opening a hair salon.
You sound thrilled.
Alexa, a little more off the top, please.
In partnership with a prominent UK stylist, the salon will include tablets at every chair, a screen to. We laughed when Amazon said we're going to open a grocery store. We're laughing out of the other side of our barcode. This now, the salon will include tablets at every chair, a screen to virtually try on hair colors, and a station to display information about products when a consumer physically points at them. That one, I want that one, mommy.
This is a marketing and technology thing. They said they didn't want to do more salons, but
it's only open to employees at first.
Yeah, they want to get into
just
beauty,
like Amazon
they want to get
Go.
into fashion.
Didn't they do the same exact thing with Amazon Go?
No, they bought Whole Foods and then they launched Amazon Go.
Okay. Well, maybe they'll buy Vidal Sassoon.
So, Stacey, does anything in this sound, since you're the most fashionable among us and Anne has no hair, does this sound at all appealing?
Sorry. That's sad that I am the most fashionable one.
You are. You're chic.
I would
have blue hair.
I would be interested in. Well, I would still have it except for the pandemic, but I would like to see things like being able to try on makeup and different hairstyles. I think that's super fun. I don't see why Amazon would want to do that, but I mean, they would want to sell me the makeup. So
they've been very interested in
data
fashion,
harvesting,
but they always have been interested in fashion. That Amazon Look device.
Yeah, it's hard to crack though. That's why they have a hard time there.
Yeah. Because they don't. You know what? They're not an upscale brand. It's not. Nobody wants to get the Amazon haircut. That just doesn't sound appealing.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. If it looks good, people would.
Really? Okay. I want to look like Jeff Bezos. Can you make
the
me look
upscale
like
brands are?
What's happening to the upscale brands?
They've been scared of the internet from the beginning, and they were scared of retailers trying to sell their stuff. So it may be Stacey's right. It may be a way into some of these higher end brands.
Oh, I can totally see why a high-end brand would not want to be on Amazon. There's so many good reasons.
Yeah. There's counterfeiting. There's Amazon knocking off their gear for a lower
brand
price.
Association.
Yep.
They're selling it to someone who they don't want wearing their brand because these brands are like fat phobic.
It's down market. You don't want that. Amazon, this I think they will make money on. They are planning a furniture assembly service. I actually hired somebody. Okay, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but when I got some IKEA furniture some years ago, I hired somebody to assemble it.
IKEA has a partnership with like TaskRabbit, didn't it?
Yeah, TaskRabbit now. This is before TaskRabbit. Now you can get TaskRabbit. I got my brother-in-law. I gave him $50.
Depending on the day, I would have done the same thing. No judgment.
I do not want to assemble IKEA furniture.
Oh, I enjoyed it. It was me living vicariously like I was a real man.
Yeah,
I made that.
Real men don't use Allen wrenches.
I twisted this Allen wrench.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, not manly.
For me, my standard, it was pretty good.
Apparently,
think about it, it's like Mechanical Turk for everyday tasks.
Oh, man. That's TaskRabbit.
Mechanical Jeff.
I have since TaskRabbit was founded. I've used first of all, I interviewed the founder, and then after that, I started using TaskRabbit like crazy. I use it all the time. Instead of hiring movers now, I just get TaskRabbit.
Really? I'll keep that in mind.
Oh yeah, they're nice. They come over. They got a truck. Would you like to meet Amaronothrus Twitter? A new bug. There is a kind of mite. They're not very big, about 0.7 millimeters long. They're harmless to people. They're a coastal mite that eats algae, lichen, and lives in a group. Oh, now some paywalls popped up.
And they got discovered via Twitter.
Call it
Twitter.
The mite of Twitter.
That's the story.
They spotted the bug in a tweet. Japanese and Austrian researchers spotted the bug in a tweet posted by an amateur photographer. The pictures showed a group of the tiny arachnids. I didn't know mites were arachnids, massing in a crack in a concrete wharf at the fishing port of Chosi.
Well, they ate mammals.
Southeast of the capital. So, and a professor at Tokyo's Hosei University, Satoshi Shimano, saw it, and he said, immediately after I saw them, I thought, these are different from others I knew, and I thought they could be a new species.
Because I know my mites so well.
I know my mites, and this mite is mighty, and so they named it, thanks to the suggestion of Professor Shimano, after Twitter. After Twitter. The Twitter part's easy. It's the first part. Amaronothrus Twitter.
I'll take your word for it.
If you ever see one of these Amaronothrus Twitters, you'll say, oh yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I recognize that. By a tweet. So Jeff, this just proves what you have always said. Twitter is so useful in the world.
See, it's useful to science. It's Useful to everything.
But can it let you shapeshift?
Oh.
TikTok has a new filter that shapeshifts you into a movie character. Press the button. Let's see.
Okay, so first it's going to show me which Disney princess I look like.
3, 2, 1. And she's turned into
Okay, Mulan, okay.
Mulan.
Next, which Marvel character?
Now, 3, 2, 1. She's turned into Wakanda forever.
I really love that. That's my favorite movie. Next, which Harry Potter character?
I think this is vaguely racist, but okay, let's see what happens here. She is Severus Snape. That's mean. How about Lord of the Rings? Can you do Lord of the Rings?
I'll take it. We'll just move on to the next one. And finally, which Lord of the Rings character? Please don't be Gollum. Please don't be Gollum. Please don't be Gollum.
Gollum.
Oh, thank
No,
God.
she's not. She's some other guy.
Something
So
else.
This is like stolen directly from Snapchat and like for their like, hey, check out this filter and you'll, and then
all
you
do what
share
they
with
all
all your
do.
but they
friends
do
and
the
everything
but do they do the Snapchat? Tell me if they do. But does Snapchat do the thing that I think TikTok does? It's very smart, which is a melding of the filter with the Facebook. Which Disney character are you? And then it does the thing and it tells you the answer. Does that?
Oh,
No.
that's BuzzFeed plus.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
Snapchat.
good.
Oh, yeah.
I think
I
that's
saw that
pretty
on
good.
Instagram stories.
Which
Yeah.
Harry Potter? Should I do it?
No.
Okay. Saved by the ant. Hey, should we call you Ant Twitter? Like
That would
we
be
discovered you on Twitter, Antis Twitterus? No,
That would be no.
No?
No.
You're your own
Hard
genus.
Pruetus Twitterus. The latest food fad on TikTok. It's our TikTok segment. I think this is so much more fun than changelog. Twist. Oh, now I have to do some puzzle
Oh,
piece.
look at that.
I hate it when they have me do that.
Oh, I didn't know you had to do that.
Puzzle
Oh.
pieces are way better than the verify.
I
with,
hate the
like,
thing. Is
how
this
many
a truck?
cars.
What's
The
a truck?
cab or the bus.
So look, you can
Fire
twist
hydrant.
your bacon. That's
Bacon twist.
okay. Okay, how do you do it? Okay.
It's the
All right,
newest
well, let's
thing on
make this
bacon.
twisty bacon
on
snack
TikTok.
that I've seen, but let's do it barbecue style, the way it should be.
There is nothing better than smoked bacon
So
on
you-
the grill.
you twirl it
I'm gonna prove that
around
to you now.
till it looks
I'm not
like
stealing anyone's idea
a
here.
noodle.
I'm just adding some smoke and barbecue sauce and making
All
it.
right, I'm so sick of this.
How does that not set his grill on fire? That much
The fat
falling
dripping
down.
right into
that
it.
much fat on that little thin tin grill.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's not right.
Twisted bacon. Isn't that weird how, I mean, it's the most trivial of things, but isn't that weird how like that suddenly is a thing?
There's a craze.
Yeah.
That's people. We're
People,
fueled by
we're weird.
novelty and
That's what
easy.
TikTok is. It's just like novelty. What I don't like, the one thing I don't like, and he was exhibiting this, which is the leaning over to look into the camera thing. Everybody on TikTok does that. I have to ask Hank why people do that. I don't like it.
And Hank did that too.
That
didn't
probably
he?
makes
Yeah.
you feel like they're right there.
probably- it's probably
Well,
when
I
you're
was going to say
celebrating
that's an
voting, you're doing
engagement
something.
tactic.
Oh, you're engaging. You're getting deep into.
Is this better?
Yeah. Let's all lean into. Let's all lean
let's
into
do
the
that.
camera.
Sorry, I can't lean. My camera's way over there.
Yeah, me too. I'm leaning in. Reminds me of.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
see,
There you go. That's 3D movie time. All right, let's take a little break. Then it's time for the Google change log. Change log time. Play the drums slowly, my friend.
The Google change log.
This is something Lisa discovered and was horrified to find Google Earth's historical 3D time lapses showing the ravages of climate change. You need Google Earth to do this. And then click on the Voyager tab and search for a place of interest, or you can check out one of Google's 5 guided tours about the Earth's fragile beauty. Should I try it? Let me launch Google Earth. Has anybody done this yet?
No.
Yes.
And were you horrified?
Not so much because I kind of.
You kind of knew.
I mean, it does definitely paint a picture.
Yeah. Fragile beauty. So what you're going to see is a timeline, an evolution of say in this case meandering rivers in Bolivia and how they have changed. Well, this doesn't look like the change is dramatic. This is rivers in their natural state, unchanged by dams or other human interventions. So that's
things like if you go look at like Phoenix or like Las Vegas is another good one. You'll see like, well, Las Vegas is not great, but Phoenix is good.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. Changing forests, warming planet, the effect of rising
under, like,
temperatures.
Farmlands.
The Columbia Glacier. You want to see a glacier disappear in 10 years? It's retreated more than 20 kilometers. Google Earth is just fun to play with. But maybe some of these are a little bit depressing as this glacier just basically goes away. It's gone. And then when you say, global warming, it's not real, that's pretty real. That kind of brings it home. Yeah, Lisa was kind of like, she actually was viscerally affected by this. Urban expansion. I bet we can see the Las Vegas timeline. Let's head to Las Vegas.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. Going back to 1987, Vegas is going to spread out over the desert. This is one of the fastest growing regions of the country. Kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Kind of cool. All right, let's continue on with the change log. Google Meet is getting a UI refresh and smarter meeting features starting next month. You'll be able to do background. Google Meet has been a little bit laggard compared to some of the other.
Yeah, surprisingly. Actually.
Yeah. You're going to be able to get background video, automatic light adjustments, and a whole lot more. You can adjust your own. This I've wanted for a long time. Video feed position. Whenever I'm on a Meet, I'm always in the little tiny thumbnail in the upper right-hand corner. Like you can't even see it. I want to be one of the big boys. now you can.
You want to be in the grid.
I want to be in the grid, man. Google Meet can improve webcam brightness and visibility. And just for you, Jeff Jarvis, paid subscribers get access to a new auto zoom feature, which will follow you and position you in front of the camera as you move around. That's something Apple actually has added to its camera on the new iMacs, and it's something that Google Nest Hub Max does. If you're in a duo conversation, it'll follow you around the room and stuff. It's kind of cool. Google, you may remember, bought Fitbit. That acquisition cleared, and now they've announced a new Fitbit for $150. Fitbit Luxe. It's a fashion-focused fitness band. 5 days of battery life. It's pretty, isn't it? You like it?
That's the one we want. We just talked about the One Plus and that price point, but yet it pretty much fails as a smartwatch. This is probably the one we want because I know Miss Stacy loves that OS.
So I find this product so puzzling. I don't understand why it exists. I know that sounds like a jerk thing to say, but Fitbit has bands that can make something prettier. Like right now, I've got the quote unquote fancy rose gold version in a cloth band.
That looks like the Luxe, pretty much.
Right, but it's not. It's a Charge 3.
Okay.
The Luxe has a skinnier this thing.
Okay.
What's this called? Display.
Okay.
This thing. The little display computing thing. It doesn't have all of the features of the 4. Like the Charge 4, you still need your smartphone, for example, for GPS tracking. But it does have more features than the Fitbit Charge 3 has. But I'm still kind of like, it's kind of a weird product.
How about with this special edition Gorgiana soft gold stainless steel Parker Link bracelet?
That's $200.
Oh, okay.
That's a no.
How about
Mother's
pink
Day's
rubber?
coming up.
No.
How about black rubber?
No.
How about...
That's the nicest one, but
it's
a
simple.
white band is going to turn into grossness.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that.
Let's take a look. Let's watch let's go to the tape.
The screen is nice.
It's
Roll
more than
that
a
beautiful beam
bracelet.
footage.
So they're going for the fashion, right?
Yeah, but this is not fashion.
No
freaking
smartwatches.
fitness tracker.
It's clunky. right? It levels up your workshops with active zone minutes, helps improve your nights for more energized days. So yeah, you can do all the things that. Is it Android Wear? No, it's Fitbit.
I think having the curve,
good.
The curve industrial design makes it a little bit more fashionable.
It does. It makes it
bezels curve off on it.
Yep.
You're right. I mean, like this guy.
Right. So that's chunky.
Not as
People
pretty.
love their Fitbits, though, don't they?
I love my Fitbit.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's real.
I've had one since 2011, and I've tried others. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I had the little one that grew as a flower. Do y'all remember the flower?
Yeah, I do remember the flower. Yeah,
I remember the one that I lost every other month.
Oh, that was the one that went in my saggy pant band.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine. I clipped onto my bra strap into my bra strap right there.
And it would always end up in the wash every time. I went through so many of them.
Yep.
That was before it was a watch. It was when
actually work gave up on them because work was providing them to me.
Oh, well, that was nice of work.
And I was like, oh, forget it. Just stop giving them to me.
No more gear for Ant.
Chrome OS 90 is here. Live captioning built in, diagnostics app, and more. And for some of you, not all of you, a small percentage of you, FLoC. It's
only mobile FLoC.
Oh, well, is it? I don't know. It's only mobile?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
By the way, I touted a week ago that we had this wonderful thing. I was so happy. And of course, Google heard I was happy and took it away.
Oh.
That you could do the multiple cuts and pastes and it would show you all of them. And now it doesn't do that for me anymore.
Oh, really?
Was it maybe an extension?
Probably realized I have a workspace account and said, no, you can't have that
one. It's got a scanner app. Google Maps and YouTube now open as standalone app windows rather than tabs. You can enable offline access for docs, sheets, and slides in Google Drive. They have deprecated a few codecs that you weren't using anyway. And a redesigned account manager is available under accounts instead of people to help users better understand how accounts work. Thank you, Google. Google's adding a price tracking tool to Chrome for Android. This is something that really freaked me out on Microsoft Edge. When you looked, when you started buying something on Edge, it would go out and see if it could find a better price without even asking you. Kind of like Honey or one of those.
Yeah.
It's built into Microsoft's Edge.
But I thought Honey, you had to opt in for that.
You do. Microsoft just does it.
Ooh.
And actually, they saved me a little bit of money on a computer I was buying. Price tracking is now in Chrome. You can track prices on tabs, see price drops on your tabs, get price drop alerts. It shows you how much people do shopping on mobile. That's for sure. Wow. Still not in the Chrome stable release though. This is for users of the Canary update of version 9.0. Google's rolling out Android 12 Developer Preview 3 for Pixel phones as we inch toward the release of Android 12. It's an incremental update for stability and performance. Developers are advised to, quote, get apps ready for the consumer beta because that's coming. They did this at Google I/O last time, a couple of years ago. I wonder if that's what'll happen. That'll be that's actually pretty soon. I bet you that's what they're planning.
First rolling out the developer preview?
No, the public beta. Developer previews are out.
Yeah.
Public beta release in May. Final release sometime in the fall for Android 12. And Google Search has added an AR Pac-Man, 3D Hello Kitty, Gundam, and other Japanese anime characters. How does it work? Do I search for it? What do I do to get that to work? So I search? Here, I'll show you a video.
Question.
That'll be easier than me doing it for you. Here's a kitty cat. Your favorite hungry character, Pac-Man, shows up in your phone, and then you can watch a Pac-Man game in AR. You've done this before, right? The various little characters you could project into.
I have a life.
Yeah. This doesn't look like that. It's cute. I like it. Cute Pac-Man wandering around, eating dots on your table.
This is as far as AR has ever gotten.
It's a toy.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. Even with Apple. And they have spent so much money on AR.
Wait, no, that's not true. That's not true. Yo, I used AR when I was buying. So when we bought the house, we obviously had to get some furniture and stuff.
Did you have an AR walkthrough? You bought stuff.
Well, I did use. I used the a couple stores actually have the tools. So you would rig it up in your room, and it was actually really kind of neat.
That's
Amazon
really neat.
Does that too for a lot of their devices and products. You can place it in the room. We've done that a couple of times with lamps.
Hey,
I did it for lamps.
And that's the Google changelog. I know, Stacy, you're from Austin, and you knew what a hardship it was when COVID-19 shut down at South by Southwest last year. It was shut down again this year. They have sold a 50% stake to the publishers of Rolling Stone magazine, Penske Media Corp.
Put it another way, they got some bailout money and then gave away 50% of their equity as a result.
Yeah, that's how I would look at it.
All right. Yeah, because
Rolling Stone finally got their claws into Southwest.
Rolling Stone, Billboard, and Variety. So those are really three of the big entertainment magazines. Mm-hmm. The problem was that the cancellations due to the pandemic were not covered by insurance. So it's thought, according to the Wall Street Journal, a cancellation cost millions.
Last I knew, I don't know if this is still the case, but last I knew, Penske was Saudi money.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, how long has it been since Warner Media owned it?
A few years. Penske's interesting, but
it's run by Jay Penske.
Jay Penske, yeah, son of founder Penske.
Do they make the vans?
That's dad.
It's the Penske, the race.
Okay.
It's the race car Penske's of the race car Penske's. The Penske Corporation. Roger Penske, former race car driver. His son now runs it. They founded Firefly, which was a wireless company for children. Remember that? In the mid 2000s.
Yeah, he's an interesting entrepreneur.
Yeah. Co-owner of the IndyCar Series racing team Dragon Racing. And now, and Billboard, Variety, and Rolling Stone. And now they're half owners of South by. I think that's probably as good as you're going to get.
I think it is. Yeah. It'll probably bring in some synergy, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Oh. Showbiz.
Yeah.
Elon's Vegas tube.
The boring tube. It's so boring.
The video I put in there tears it to shreds. To shreds. And this is the man we're going to trust to go to the moon?
Well, let's be fair. It's just a hole in the ground with a car in it. All right,
it should have been a car. It was supposed to be like a people mover thing.
Yeah, no, but maybe it will be someday.
Now it's a Tesla with a driver.
And it goes 35 miles an hour. Here we go. Debunking Vegas loop.
It's 15 minutes, but it's amazing.
Well, the video of the cars moving through the loop is hysterical because
it is.
They're not moving exactly.
Its original birth at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. This was a complete lap of the track without stops, without passengers, and it took 5 minutes and 35 seconds.
That's the plan.
It takes people a minute to load up and another minute to leave the vehicle on arrival as new passengers are climbing into the car.
Yeah.
That gives us about 7.5 minutes per round trip as an estimate. And as it turns out, we found that exact number on some of the project's related documents, especially in regards to fire code. The claim is this system can carry 4,400 people per hour, and there are 62 cars. One of these cars can carry 3, possibly 4 people, and do a lap every 7.5 minutes. Add it all up, and the max output on this system is 1,488 people per hour if there's 3 people per vehicle. 1,984 if they cram 4.
This is a takedown.
Is there even enough room in the tunnel?
Now the other thing about this tunnel, look at the tunnel.
The vehicle.
It's just a hole.
Second,
there's no way to get out of the vehicle
to keep people out of danger from approaching vehicles when they're out of the car.
But what if the car breaks down?
Emergency exits.
Yeah.
Signs. Directional arrows. How about reflective tape? Nope on all counts. Keep driving.
What if
Look
it
for
catches
any of the
fire,
calls.
as Teslas do? There's
Emergency
no way
lights,
for a
emergency
truck to get in there.
Fire alarm pull stations, you won't spot any. Ventilation shafts.
I would have assumed all of that
How
was
about
on the
fire
roadmap
suppressor
for him anyway.
None of those either. In fact, the paperwork outlining this project very clearly states that this mass transport tunnel system has no fire sprinklers, smoke detectors, or fire detectors.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
I'm not getting in there.
Well, that's a problem. Okay. All right.
And you can't get out.
What
You
I
can't-
said.
There's not room to go around the cars to get out.
Well, here's the good news. SpaceX has won the contract with NASA to take people to the moon. And there is somewhere to get out on the moon. There's a lot of places you can get out. You don't need fire suppression because there's no air. This is actually a big deal. NASA was not funded really for the moon mission, even though President Trump was a big supporter of it. Congress never allocated the money, so they just didn't have the money. The bids were out to the Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin and to a space company called Dynetics, but SpaceX dramatically underbid those two, and since NASA didn't have any money, they gave the contract, the $2.9 billion contract, to SpaceX. Because NASA already has a launch system in progress, even though the Starship that Musk's building is capable of launching the astronauts from a launching pad and taking them to the moon and taking them back, they won't be doing that because NASA has to use its SLS Orion project, which they have spent crazy billions of dollars building. So the astronauts will get in the Orion, they'll fly to the SpaceX Starship, which will then take them the rest of the way to the moon. So there's a transfer, and then.
Well, I just hate that on the subway.
I know.
I just hate
that?
having to make a transfer.
Yeah. And then what's cool about the Starship is it's not going. There's no lunar lander. The other companies' bids were much more conventional with a separate lunar lander, as you may know, because we've seen the video of the Starship landing on Earth. That's how Starship's going to land on the moon, just like a 1950s rocket movie.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah. It's going to turn around. It's going to fire its thrusters and slowly lower to the moon. And then, and you can kind of see it in this picture, the astronauts, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit on this picture, are going to get into a crane mechanism, like for window washers, and they're going to be lowered.
Oh, my Lord.
From
I could go to the moon, and I'd say, I'm not leaving it. I'm staying in. I'm not doing that.
It doesn't look like fun. Then lowered onto the surface of the moon. But
there's been people that signed up to go.
Oh,
on
I'd
this
go.
trip, right?
I'd go. I don't care about the window washer maneuver.
Have at it.
Yeah,
sir.
I don't care
Have
about
at
that. If my daughter was older, I'd go.
Oh yeah. Well, don't worry. It'll be your daughter will be older.
Be a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're hoping for 2026. I think 2025. They're hoping to do it pretty soon. Trump originally promised, I think, 2024, but I think we're thinking maybe it's going to take a little longer than that. So you got time. Your daughter might be grown by the time you can go. So really, you would go to the moon? Because so would I. I think it sounds like fun.
I want to see the Earth from space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know why. I was like, it's like a spirit. I'm like, I would
too.
I don't want to do it today. I want to do it in like maybe 10, 20 years. I would want to do it. I mean, when I'm closer to the end of my life, but I still want to appreciate things just in case I don't come back.
I want to do it too, but I want to do it along the lines of how we have private charter for airplanes, that they really do take care of
Virgin
things.
Galactic is going to do that. They won't take you to the moon. They'll just take you into low Earth orbit, but you could see the Earth as a planet and come back.
And then bring me back.
Just a couple 100,000. So if you're really rich in this country, you create something called a family office to do your investing. The Yamaguchi family is the founding family, or Yamauchi family is the founding family of Nintendo. Their family office has a website. Turn on the sound for this one, John. Did you post this?
I did.
Yeah, I figured it was a Jarvis. The Yamauchi number 10 family office is basically a little
So move over the nav at the left and it'll sound.
It's a little.
Click on one of them.
It's a little game. Philosophy. Ooh, look at that. This is so cute.
Okay,
we're putting some of the family money into the website. Actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Japanese, but I'm sure it's very exciting. I wish I could play a game on this, though. It feels like I should be able to use the arrow keys to do something.
Where's my Nintendo emulator?
I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thank you, Jeff, for that. That's a good one.
That's fun.
Anything else? What have I missed? There seems like a lot more stories, but I just don't know if I've missed anything important.
So will you put your palm over the machine to get into Whole Foods and pay?
Sure. Why wouldn't I?
Right? Why not?
Why not? Well, here's the argument against it. That means Whole Foods will now have the biometrics of my palm, and who knows how well they will be,
Well, it's Amazon. Whole Foods is owned by Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. And I can't exactly change my palm print. So that kind of gives them biometric
when you rob
information,
the bank.
Yeah, about me that maybe I don't want them to have. Disney used to do that, a fingerprint to get into and get on the rides at Disney parks. And we talked about this many years ago on Steve
Years ago.
Suggesting people use their knuckle instead.
Years ago.
Do you have a unique knuckle?
I don't know, but maybe it would fool the Disney. We thought it maybe wasn't the best plan to give Disney your fingerprint because you can't change it. You can't change it. But on the other hand, you know.
You could. It would just be incredibly painful and or.
But sometimes privacy is worth it.
All right, let's.
We've all seen the Bourne Identity, or is it the Bourne ones where he burns
changes?
off his fingertips?
Oh yeah, oof.
Yeah.
Ugh. Let's finish this thing. Let's wrap this thing up with some picks and tips and numbers next. Starting with Stacey Higginbotham's pick of the week.
Always start with me.
Well, that's because you're all the way on the left. But I can start with somebody else. There she's going. She's taking. Stacey's got a little ride. By the way, no fire escapes, no alarms, no fire extinguishers on that ride.
Oh.
That Stacey just took.
I was going to say I am within 100 feet from a fire extinguisher. I'm within 30 feet of a fire extinguisher.
Okay, good. I have one in the house. Just in case I have to cook.
3.
Good for you. And we have a fire extinguisher.
We're not going to watch me jab.
Do we have a defibrillation
That doesn't look like an Allen wrench.
Here? We don't. Okay, just checking. Just planning a heart attack.
I don't have a. What are those things called? Box cutter.
You need a box cutter?
I need a box.
Use your car
And
key.
Pruitt, what's your pick of the week this week? Do you have one?
I could go if she's not ready.
Yeah,
go.
Mine is pretty
misery.
quick this time. There's a podcast out there called Relatively Normal, and it's hosted by Mr. Mark. I can never say his last name, but he used to write for the Clemson Sports Network. And he started this podcast because he's focusing on mental health and mental health awareness. And he's been able to have conversations with other doctors and other psychiatrists and psychologists. And this particular episode that I highlighted today deals more so with men and men of color regarding mental health and mental health awareness and all of the stigma around it and some of the things that we have heard as we grew up and things that some people just tend to believe, like mental health issues are just someone being weak or whatever. And the doctor on there goes through the ins and outs of it being just as important as someone that has diabetes.
It's an illness, just like any other illness. Yeah,
it's just like any other illness, and they have a lot of interesting illustrations in that. And I think it was worth the listen.
No stigma. We don't have a stigma if you get a heart attack or you break your thumb. It's just an illness. Yep.
Yeah, but check it out. It even gets into suicide and those statistics there, and it's pretty interesting and pretty scary all at the same time.
Relatively Normal podcast by Mark Pysant, and the latest Season 3, episode 69. Is there a doctor in the house?
That's good stuff. And then lastly, just watch my video on YouTube.
You have a short
time
film?
to shoot another one.
You have a short
little
film?
With Queen Pruitt. But I hadn't had time to shoot anything else like that. But I want to do it again.
That's because we keep you busy with the reviews. You're doing the Sony A1 next, right?
Working on the A1 right now. And I believe we'll have that ready next week.
Nice. I was recording a review of my new Mach-E, my month-in review of the Ford electric Mach-E, which I mean, long story short, I love it. But because of COVID, I couldn't have a camera crew or anything, so I shot the whole thing on a 360-degree camera, and it's taking Anthony a long time to figure out what the hell to look at.
He's got to stitch it.
He's got to do it. Oh, he's got a lot of work. So this week we're going to do, actually it's a great bit from an Apple accessories, Apple iOS accessories with the hosts of iOS Today, the wonderful Rosemary Orchard and Micah Sargent. So that will be actually coming up right after this show, Hands on Tech. And then next week, my review of the Ford Mach-E. And then maybe we'll get to your Sony A1 review the week after. We've got to kind of start and get a little bit behind on the reviews. Jeff, you have a number for us?
Yeah, I do. No, it's going to find it again.
You prepare so many numbers. It's good. You're smart.
Because I never know. I gave up a number already.
I know you
already
did.
had it. For the good of the show, I'm willing to, give up anything. So WordPress is an amazing company and organization, and its share of, I'm not sure what the methodology here is, but this came from Ben Evans' email newsletter. Its share of content management systems is now 41.1%.
Yikes.
Bigger
That's
than
pretty
none.
dominant. Yeah.
Next down is Shopify at 3.5%. All right. Joomla 2.1%. And Squarespace and Wix are tied at 1.6%. Huge drop off there.
WordPress is dominant.
Blogger, bless its little surviving heart until Google realizes we have that still. Why didn't we kill that? Is hanging in there at 1%. And then it falls off from there. And I'm always impressed with Matt and with WordPress and the vision he had for an open source base and a company built on top, and it worked.
Yeah. They say 41% of all websites. I think that's actually just as accurate because most websites are content management systems of some kind. So 41% of the entire web runs on WordPress. When we were doing the ads, it was about 30%. So I take credit for the final 11%.
Yes, you should.
Good job, Mr. Laporte. Good job.
10 years before, in 2011, it was 13.1%.
Yeah, it's been growing non-stop. It's impressive.
Matt Mullenweg is amazing.
Good job, WordPress. And finally,
you ready, Stacy? Are you ready?
If Stacy's pick
I
of the
did my
week
homework now.
is a box cutter, I'm going to be upset.
No, my pick of the week
It's an Allen wrench.
awesome.
Ooh,
It is
a power
the Lutron
supply.
outdoor outlet. This is IPv. Sorry, this is IP65 rated.
But if you wanted to pee outside, it'd be a very handy thing to have.
I was going to say it's not IPv6.
Is this a cassetta?
This is a cassetta. So what you need to know about this is a connected outdoor outlet. It is expensive AF, y'all. It is $79.95.
Wow.
And you might be like, wow, I can buy 2 outlets that are HomeKit certified for like $50.
Right.
And you can. And I recommend you do that if that's your jam. But this is good because it is
If that's
Lutron.
your jam.
It's also
it is. I mean, it is.
GFCI, which I like.
But this is temperature rated to below 20 degrees up to 50 degrees Celsius.
So this is for your Christmas lights.
This is for like Minnesota.
Your Minnesota Christmas lights.
And I think most of the outdoor outlets are not IP65 rated. They're usually IP64 rated, which is a little less water resistant. This guy, I have not tried this one, but I have one outside. I went out and bought one because I live in Seattle and there's tons of rain. And my string lights it would be more convenient to have them not under an eave for the outlet. So they've been outside for 4 weeks in Seattle weather. Granted, the last week has been very, very nice, y'all. But prior to that, super rainy. And so far, it hasn't shorted or done anything terrible. Because it's cassetta, it links back to any cassetta bridge. That if you have the cassetta bridge in your home, it's so easy to set up. And this is why I love all Lutron products. One, Lutron will back you up and they have the greatest technical support ever. But B, to set it up, you literally plug this in, you go to the app and you're like, I want to add a device. It's like, what device do you want? You pick this device. And then you hold this button right here down. And 10 seconds later, it's linked to the app and you're done. It's so nice.
Is it Bluetooth? Okay. Is that how they're doing it?
No, it is. Oh, it is radio. It's not Radio Raw. I'm so sorry. It is their Cassetta Clear Connect is the protocol.
So this is really
1,000
works.
feet. Yeah, wow. It's a great protocol.
So if I were gonna get lighting automation, you'd think Lutron would be the way to go. If
you are putting smart lighting in your home, Lutron, like it's bar none my favorite.
King of the hill,
hands down the best.
Okay. And it works with the Google Assistant. It works with HomeKit. It works with Amazon Echo.
You buy a hub. Yeah, you have to have a hub to connect it to Wi-Fi because this is, remember, it's the Clear Connect. Sorry. They have a fancier version. It's important to know that Lutron has Cassetta, which is their DIY smart home stuff. And then they have fancy Lutron that like a Control 4 vendor or someone will sell you.
Yeah. That's that's expensive too, that stuff.
That's Radio Raw. It's a different radio.
Outdoor Lutron lights. They're very expensive. Yeah.
So and this is expensive, and I'll tell you in a year, but it's a much, you could feel it. It's a much higher quality build.
It looks powerful.
I don't know if it's powerful.
It looks powerful. Looks like the kind of light plug Darth Vader might have.
Yeah.
It's very glossy, black, and powerful looking.
Well, I haven't. There's plastic on this. Oh no, it is glossy.
Yeah.
I never take the plastic off of anything. Anyway,
you just like to watch it slowly rot.
Though?
Yeah, I love to take the plastic off.
I like taking the plastic off.
I don't. I wait too.
I
wait until
gadgets.
it just comes off.
Yeah, I don't like messing
yucky.
with them.
Yeah, it gets yucky.
I just don't want to mess with them.
Plus, for the longest time,
set it up and
I had I think it was the Essential phone. I was saying, boy, the pictures are terrible on this. And I finally realized like a month later, I've never taken the plastic off the lens. Suddenly they cleared up.
Trust me, that was just a prelude to the problems of that phone.
That thing never was very good, but at least it, once you took the plastic off, it looked a little bit better. So now I make a religious fetish of it to go through and make sure all plastic is removed at time of use. And it's very satisfying to peel the plastic off. Although I found a plastic covering on my PC. I guess when stuff's made in China, it's just their habit to cover every glossy surface with a film of plastic. So right. I didn't even realize month after getting the PC that there's a very thin film of plastic on the front of that. Thank you, Stacy. I'm glad you found the box cutter.
Yes, sorry, y'all.
No, I'm just teasing you. No problem. Why do we always start with Stacy? We should start with Ann once in a while. It just seems the right.
No, don't start with me.
It's like I don't do my homework until Stacy's doing her homework.
Right, I'm waiting on
Nobody wants to be first. Nobody wants to be first. I got a pick of the week. Club Twit. Go to twit.tv/Club Twit. We're having so much fun in there. It reminds me so much of the early days of Twit where the great community is hanging out and enjoying each other. And man, I'm loving it. Aunt Pruitt is at Hands on Photography. Another good reason to join Club Twit is because it supports shows like Hands on Photography. And we want to do more photography shows. But for some reason, I don't know why, they're really hard to sell ads for. I thought Canon, Sony, Nikon, I thought they'd all just come running. Epson. No, they don't. So I don't know why.
And I know their PR.
I know.
Go figure.
We thought, it's not just for you when we did the This Week in Photo stuff.
Oh yeah, Twit.
With what's her name? With Catherine. It was Catherine Hall. We thought, this is going to be easy. She thought it was easy. Oh, I know everybody in the. No, nobody wanted to buy ads. So if you want photography stuff, join Club Twit, because that's how you support it. That's how you show that there's an interest in it. Maybe advertisers don't care, but we know the audience cares. All you have to do is go to twit.tv/Club Twit and focus on photographies at twit.tv/ I'm sorry, hands on. Focus, there's an example. That was a show we were doing. We stopped doing it. Hands-on photography. Save hands-on photography. Not that it's in trouble, but just let me use it for the moment. Save hands-on photography. Twit.tv/hop. Mr. Jeff Jarvis, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the director of the Town Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Google may pay him, but we love him.
Google does not pay me.
I just want to give you the chance to say that very clearly. Google does not.
There was a moment today when somebody slandered me.
Who is this clown from the New York Times? Is he somebody I should know?
Did he slander you or libel you?
He libeled him. Or libeled him, which is libels in print, slanders in speech.
I don't know, but I'm pissed.
It was in
slander
speech.
is spoken. I was it on TV or was it on
TV? And he said he didn't just slander him; he slandered us. Because he said, if you're listening to tech journalists talking about technology, they're all paid by Google and Facebook.
Yep.
What the hell? Yeah, I saw it. It was like,
who was this?
And then they said, give us names. And the guy said, well, Jeff Jarvis. It was like, I almost hit the roof, Jeff. I was furious. And I know you didn't want to bring it up. But it's
I don't want. Well, because the person who shared it is a horrible troll.
Well, yeah, the person shared whatever. But this was on some like.
No. It was on a panel on an organization that is the anti-tech lobbying organization that irony doesn't reveal its own funding.
Oh, what a surprise!
And by the way, I get not one penny of my salary from Google or Facebook or any technology company.
No.
But Ben Smith's salary at the New York Times is well subsidized by Google and Facebook because they get tons of money from Google and Facebook.
Oh, interesting. Isn't that
facts?
Isn't that interesting? He's the media columnist at the Times, and clearly a first-class twit. And he didn't he named you, but he basically said all tech journalists, if you hear them defending big tech, it's because they're paid by Google and Facebook. And that was
I don't know a single soul
infuriating
who's out there in that world.
Such BS. We bend over backwards not to take money from these companies. I don't own stocks in any company that we cover.
We get yelled at for giving Google a hard time.
So annoying.
That's how you know you're doing it right. Is when they yell at you for giving you error.
Yeah. Guy's a bozo. So he worked for the New York Observer. That should tell you something.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. He covered politics for Politico, the New York Daily News, the New York Observer, and the New York Sun.
He was the editor of BuzzFeed.
Yeah, Mr. Eds. Oh, he was the founding editor of BuzzFeed. Well, there's a journalistic enterprise.
Hey, BuzzFeed News is actually a journalistic enterprise.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's not slander entire publications.
It's not fair to me.
A lot of BuzzFeed is link bait, though, right? The name kind of says it all.
There's two. Yes, BuzzFeed is one part.
Not the news
site
part.
is actually.
Okay. Well, I don't care. I don't like him anyway.
Thank you.
He's a jerky jerk. And that's that. And I couldn't let my good friend Jeff Jarvis go undefended.
Well, it was actually gratifying today because I thought, oh, no, here we go. It's going to be a troll day. And I got tons of support. People said that was over the line. That was wrong. It's not true.
It's ridiculous.
It was great.
But he slandered every tech journalist. That's the thing. I mean, the guy's a clown. If he thinks people in our business are paid by Google and Facebook, that's like a fourth grader's impression of how things work. That's nuts.
Hell, I can't get Google to do what I want to with the workplace accounts.
That's freaking nuts.
And the truth is, I pay Google a fortune between all my little services. I pay them; they don't pay me.
And Google doesn't go around offering. What are you asserting that these companies are going around bribing journalists? That's horrific. Google and Facebook are going around giving money to journalists for favorable coverage. If they're doing that, if any tech company is doing that, that's horrific. I'd like to see the evidence, Mr. Ben Smith, you moron. And the money would be nice.
Yeah. By the way, if we missed that email, let us know. We'll look through our spam and see if it's
where is that? Where is that?
Gee, I forgot
that bag of money that they're bringing around. What a moron to say that. That's appalling.
It really was.
Just appalling. And he's a media columnist for the New York Times. This is what I mean when I say the Times is occasionally, more and more lately, problematic. So maybe I should really stick with the Washington Post.
Well, and it indicates the agenda of news organizations.
Yeah, they hate big tech because they see big tech as the the enterprise that put them out of business.
And that's the next book proposal I'm working on right now.
Oh, good. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Stacy. Stacy's at stacyoniot.com. Our newsletter is free because Google paid for it. What is this? IO Czar. Is that your new title? You're the IO Czar?
What?
The IoT Czar. Somebody's changed your lower third. John must have changed your lower third. They're IoT Czar.
I'm the
IoT
spelled with the
Czar.
TSAR.
Yeah. Well, Stacy on IoT.com is a place to go. There's also a great podcast she does with Kevin Toffel. He of the AboutChromebooks.com fame. And it's called the IoT Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do This Week in Google of a Wednesday afternoon, about 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 2100 UTC. Or whenever Google sends us the check, we'll do it then. So crazy. If you want to watch us do it live, ads included, go to twit.tv/live. A couple of people said, hey, if I join the club, will there be no ads in the live feed? No, because I got well, actually, you know what? Today, just for you. No ads. Just for you.
I love that we can hear Jammer B.
That was a real problem, actually.
Yeah. No
How would
ads.
you do that in the live feed? You just go to sleep for 2 minutes and then come back.
I could play some lounge music.
I had to go in the middle of the Facebook call or Facebook convo. I had to leave to go get my waffles because there wasn't an ad.
And you didn't share waffles with the rest of the crew?
I told everybody in Club Twit that it was waffle time.
I saw her say it in Discord.
What do you put on your waffles?
I just eat them. They're just sweet enough as it is. And can I just do a shout out to John, who never, when I'm chomping on the waffles,
we know
he's
not
so
to,
gracious and doesn't show me.
Never cut to Stacy when she's eating. No, we know that much.
We're going to have Google money.
I mute, but I'm like,
little secret.
Or cut to Ant while he's drinking.
Secret. Every once in a while, I drink a lot of water. In the middle of the show, I got to go. I just leave. You guys talk. He never cuts if you ever see the wide shot, you'll never know I'm gone.
It's true.
Then when I come, I sit back down, I say something, and it's like I never left. It's pretty much the only time you get a word in edgewise, actually. On-demand versions of the show available at the website, twit.tv/twig. While you're there on the page, you'll see a link to our YouTube channel. So everything we do is on the YouTube channel there. You can also see links to various podcast clients where you can subscribe to the show automatically. If you do subscribe, leave us a review. A 5-star review would very much help. We'd really appreciate that. And of course, there are wonderful ways to interact with us that are still absolutely free, ad-supported in effect by the wonderful advertisers who support the network. That's our IRC at irc.twit.tv in real time. We have a forum at twit.community. That's a great interactive space. And of course, a Mastodon instance if you want to join the Fediverse at twit.social. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.
You know what's fun? Android. You know what's even more fun, though? All About Android. That's my show, Jason Howell, along with my co-hosts Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and we welcome guests on each and every week from throughout the Android ecosystem, developers, Googlers, journalists, people who are all geeked out about the Android operating system. We tell you everything you need to know. twit.tv/AAA every Tuesday. We'll see you there.